It to me would seem that because there were people of different nations and different tongues at that time, that there was sort of this. It, I don't want to call it mystic or magic, but it was definitely some sort of, according to the book anyway. According to the book, there was something that united a certain type of linguistic. I guess I could say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that still exists, and I think that's the reason why there are both like etymological connections as well as phonological or phonetic connections between words that can be used to connect different meanings throughout different languages and things like that. And that because all languages still have the same root, basically. And I think the whole thing is because I think the language of birds can still be expressed in the languages we speak today. It's still possible, basically, but obviously you still have the limitation of speaking a language that only other people who also speak it can understand. But within that, you can broaden the scope of the meaning based on these phonetic connections. So that's basically what poetry is about, for example. Using like rhymes and like words that sound alike, or playing with words and things like that to create new pockets of meaning, let's say, for people to play with.
Yeah, so essentially that's like melodies and that sort of thing, like a band of merry men, that sort of thing. So the troubadours,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
the famous country artist calls himself the troubadour, right? So that linguistic there's actually a reference to like sirens, doing this mystic melody to lure men in. So throughout history, there's this evident uh, reality to me anyway that there is power in sound, right? And so for that sound, whatever that sound that we use, personally, we have to assign some type of meaning to it, and throughout different cultures and groups and uh, nations, even there's linguistics that are involved so that communication can happen, social contracts can be met and signed, or not even signed, or just considered for interpretation.
Let me jump in real quick and thank Chuck for the 10 gifted memberships. I'll do a flyover for those who are new here. I have a clip that you'll see it. Let's do it. Right on. Thank you, Chuck, for lighting up the chat. And anybody who's new here or just getting here, this is a carryover conversation from Nachiquetas. The link is pinned. It's open panel. Hit the like, please.
And as soon as it gets silly, I'll be out of here so quick.
Feel that.
What's on your head? I want to go back to the fuck, I just lost it. Go ahead, guys.
The language of birds.
Yeah, so D-Doc, I really am interested in a conversation coming from your perspective. Really, ultimately, we have these ideas in our head, whether it's religion, philosophy, viewpoint, whatever it is, whatever the case is, right? So that's just one posit of reality that one could consider. And if that is the case, basically, from what I understand, you do have a typical Christian morality system as most people would see it, from what I can tell. But I was curious as to if there is so there's no actual basis for that. So I was curious, where do you stand in the whole scheme of things? I'm just curious.
Okay, you said you extrapolated out when I said no, I'm not standard Christian into I don't have a standard. Not true. I do have a standard.
Gotcha.
But it's based in my own brain and my own biases and the interpretation of the stories that I have adopted. Okay, so it's not leaning upon my own understanding, but it is continuous application of a reading frame I've adopted. Okay, so here's how that goes. And I'm a fan of logic. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm only saying I'm a fan of it. If it is true that there's some kind of duality in human, there's this spirit thing about a human being, and that happens, say, at the moment of conception, for instance. And let's say that for financial reasons or some desperate fringe reason, whoever were responsible for creating that life decided to abort it. Okay. So they abort that unborn child. It never had any chance at all to experience hardly anything. Right. But then I say something like, the celestials have every ability to restore that infant, that unborn infant, into heaven. Well, then I have to say something like they're alive. So what was the abortion? A delay of experience? In which case, it really changes what I feel is true in, say, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. Or you could say murder. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't much matter. So I think there is ultimate moral commandments, yes, but I also don't think they're being understood very deeply.
Are you
that's
claiming,
fair. That's a fair perspective. I like that.
Help me understand this. Your position is that your faith is based off of you reading a book.
No.
Then I'm lost.
My faith is partly based in me reading several books.
Okay. That's where it originates from for you individually.
No.
Okay.
But you asked me a specific question. Now you're asking me a new question.
Yeah.
The answer to the new question is experience that was falsifiable, proven out to be true in reality, and was from outside of my possible experiential range.
Yeah, that's basically the religious experience.
Yeah, so I had a religious experience that made claims within the experience that I was unaware existed, but they were things that should exist in reality if they exist. I went and looked for those things in reality. Those things were in reality, but outside of my knowledge, showing me that what I received was actually information.
Give me an example.
May I try, Richard, real quick? Just okay. So Joshua, your premise is science, man, science, man, science, man. Roger. So if I gave you a schematics, and I said
Richard respond to the conversation before we move it over, because it sounds.
I'll write it down. Good.
Can you keep it? Good. That's a good idea.
I won't be able to keep it if I don't write it down.
I'm like that too on some things. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was in between girlfriends anyway, so I didn't mind leaving where I was at. And it was told to me via phone call that my eldest brother was in the hospital. And at the moment, case in point, they said the name of the hospital, but I didn't write it down. I was just entirely too upset, excited, however you want to say it. My brother had just gone through an invasive surgery, opening up his rib cage to remove proteins that were choking out his lungs, making him unable to breathe as they grew. So I was a little bit concerned. So I went to a truck stop. I had a friend drop me at a truck stop, and I took a truck to Albemarle, North Carolina. Now, I'm not from Albemarle, North Carolina. I've never lived in, I've never seen a map of, etc. I get there at 2:30 in the morning. The truck driver drops me off alongside the highway. Literally, he just took an off-ramp and on-ramp, and he just dropped me off. I didn't even notice what the exit number was. I just had no information. I just saw a neighborhood and I saw woods. So I start walking toward the neighborhood because knowing there's a road there and that's the easiest way to travel somewhere. And in prayer for the next 12 miles, I was brought without a wrong turn on the most direct route to the hospital, having no map, having no experience, not knowing the name of the hospital, having no one to talk to on this earth. So things like that.
Yep.
So you just had an experience and came to faith.
Yes, but you have an argument.
Like a
Jones.
lot more of, I would assume a lot more experiences. Like that wouldn't be the only one. There would just be a lot.
No, not by a long shot. There's been thousands of occasions of a claim that was given to me in prayer, falsifiable, verified in reality, outside of my experiential range. Thousands.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Do you remember your question or your thought generally specific? Did you write it down?
Sure, I do. So again, I keep saying this before, that a man with an argument has nothing on a man with an experience, and I hope that Jonesy will have that kind of experience. So he basically put forward an argument. He was answered by an experience. And I'll try to be as quickly as possible with this. If I were to put together a TV with a stand, you know, and I got it out of the box. Here's the manual, and I'm sitting here and I'm reading it, and for some reason things just aren't coming together right. Now, there's a couple options. Either there's something wrong with the manual's flawed, my understanding of the manual is flawed, or I'm missing some part of what I need to complete the task, right? Or everything's fine, like I said before, and the problem lies with me and my understanding and my ability to follow directions or comprehend what the directions are. So if those who believe, those will sit there and go to get a 4-year degree, talk about their bachelor's degree and be proud of their bachelor's in science or something like that, and they'll read textbooks written by other men, yet they'll scoff at a Bible, which is basically a textbook written by men. You understand what I'm saying? Is the fault in, you know?
Wait, do you think I scoff at the Bible?
No, I have no idea. I'm saying people that are ascribing that science is to be believed, and they'll talk about the fathers of certain scientific thought processes or theories. Those people read books. Those people studied. Those people trained.
What do you mean by science ought be believed? What does that mean?
I didn't say science ought be believed.
What does that mean? The assertion is man will believe science.
What? Oh, you're giving me a new question, or did you? Think
yeah, I don't understand what.
No, actually, you did say that. I think you did say that science.
I didn't say anything about science ought be believed. I think you misunderstood what I said.
Well,
what I'm saying is you believe in these science books and the fathers that wrote them, and I believe in a Bible and the fathers that wrote them. So how are we any different? Other than you have an argument, I have an experience.
Because science, and again, every field, I'm not an expert in any of them, masters in one, but keep on going down the list, right? Science just gives explanation for how a thing functions, right? And it's generally like the idea of it's the best explanation that we have any available knowledge to. Some things get really weird. Like right now I'm trying to deal with quantum energy, and it's just, I can't get past 2 paragraphs without getting a migraine. But to put it all into perspective, right? Like there's not a concept of belief. It's not needed. You just have to comprehend how a thing functions. All it is an explanation of functionality if I'm giving it the most crudest definition. I don't understand the idea of belief other than do you mean like somebody says something about a science and then another person receives that information and you're just believing that?
So if I may, please.
Yep, please, Rick, because I think he's taken my argument and created some other thesis.
No. It's not that. So some individuals in the world just, and I don't mean this derogatory, don't have a fundamental understanding of what faith is. Okay, and so there actually is in the scriptures a definition that it gives. It speaks of evidence, right? It talks about how evidence is the basis for faith, right? And so what some of us out here have done, and this is all in good faith, what some of us have out here done is they have looked at the evidence, not just by experience of our own experiences, but they took into account other people's experiences as well. Perhaps like how a mother would tell the child not to touch the stove because it's hot. Now, the child doesn't need to touch the stove to know it's hot, right? All he has to do is take his mother's word. Now, he does know what heat is because he's been in a hot bath that's too hot, right? And so, because of that experience that he had before, he can understand what the word heat means. And so, he can take that into consideration when he is explained to by his mother how that the stove is hot. That is faith. You take the faith of the fact that your mother has the experience, right? And when you apply that to real life, that experience, if you do that in these, outlandish experiences that others have shared, it actually strengthens your faith, as it were, that those things that are outside the bounds of physicality exist. Does that make
Why
sense?
do we trust these authorities? You trust your mom because she wipes your butt and feeds you food and gives you kisses on the head before bed. Why do we trust these authorities?
I mean, that is a good question. I mean, so in my experience, and this is my experience, there are certain types of people out there, just like with dogs, that have a better morality about them, whether it's because they were trained up a certain way and then received that morality, or that they just have an inherent good heart. They have this type of morality that you can judge that character. You can discern that they have a certain type of character, and that breeds morality. And so with that morality comes a certain type of faith in that authority that they might actually be able to share with you.
Well, the Bible stories are they may be true, they may be false, but from where we're sitting as individuals, right, trying to assess what's right from wrong and what's true and false, what are you looking to go? You know what, this I can trust in more than that, more than the Quran, more than Animorphs, more than whatever other book you're reading. It seems to me that people trust pastors or priests, present day religious authorities, who also explain how to understand the book to them. But it doesn't seem to me that that really many, if any, present day religious authorities, they all seem to be charlatans.
I agree. Yes. The practice what you preach type of thing. And I agree 100%. This is actually something, if I could just pass it over to GS, he has a beautiful way of explaining this. I've heard him explain it so many times. And if GS wouldn't mind, that would be wonderful.
But do you want to kick that over to me? What you want to jog my memory and how I had to explain it? But I did type something in the chat. Basically, if the manual is not flawed, it's not an error. The person reading it has understanding of what he's reading, and he applies it. And this manual happens to be the Bible. I've seen exponential benefit in my life when I'm denying my flesh and actually walking in the Spirit. I can't deny the results of it, but then my flesh gets in the way. And then people look at me and go, "You're not a Christian. You ain't no Christian at all." And they're right. At the time, I'm not. And I can't deny that. But I mean, what I'm saying is if there's no flaw in the manual, right?
Which is an assumption that I'm not willing, that I don't believe, but for argument's sake,
So-
I mean, I'll
so
grant you
therefore-
that there's nothing wrong in the manual.
Right. So let's say what you're doing right now, Flo, is amazing. You have a group of people that hopefully are trying to be understood. Right. But in order to understand, or in order to be understood, we must first seek to understand what the other person's saying. Like, I want to know what Joshua Jones is saying, because he seems to be leaning heavily on science and saying that man has basically created so many things, yet there's another thing that was created by man, and also a thing that created man, in my opinion. from my experience. And I'm just trying to figure out like the chicken or the egg. I feel like there's a chicken or egg fallacy thing going on here.
Well, if
And
you're
I'm
asking, like,
trying to understand it. Go ahead.
my full assessment's real simple here. I'm not laying claim to know what created man. Like, speciation's a real weird thing, right? So I don't lay claim to know. You, however, are.
Yeah, God.
Yep.
Right.
So
What you're
in that,
asserting, what do you have to demonstrate that?
so
Keep in mind, it's not a fair question, right? Like, the whole idea of faith is you're not supposed to be able to demonstrate it. That would be the issue.
well,
Do you have a
no.
brain, Joshua?
Yes.
How do you
I
know?
think.
Have you ever seen it?
Well, it hurts quite often.
Have you ever seen it though? Because
Well,
you're saying faith is the belief in something unseen, right? So do you have faith that you have a brain, or did some doctor just tell you had one?
Are we just boiling faith down to hope? In which case, I can fully understand hope.
No, that would be a mischaracterization. I asked you a very direct question. Do you have a brain, and you believe you have a brain, and what do you base that belief on? Because you're telling me your other worldview and your logic that follows is if you can't see it, then maybe you shouldn't really think that it's even there, right?
I've seen brains. So
no, you've seen brains, but have you seen
yeah.
your brain? How do you know that you're not in a sim and you're the only one that doesn't actually have a brain?
Two questions there. The first one is CT scans would be like if I'm being pushed for some type of evidence, CT scans would be the first one.
That's a facsimile of a man-made created thing telling you that that's your brain.
Just like a photograph.
So you're going to put your trust in the man over seeing with your own.
Technically, it would be putting your trust in a
taste
machine, right? But that wouldn't be an abnormal thing. To answer your second question, that's a little bit of a different concept. That one, no, we all operate under the function that I think, therefore I am. Right? That's the whole brain in the vat argument. Like we all think this is.
So I actually have to make a pushback on that. So not everything that is considered by your brain is a thought. This is just something that I actually have personally come to realize. Okay, so there's two different things that are happening within your brain, in just my opinion. There's knowledge, and then there's thought. Okay, now there's knowledge, which is there's actual evidence for things. Okay, that's not thought. Knowledge is based in reality, whereas thought, that's an experiment. That's a hypothesis. Okay, thoughts aren't real. They're not tangible. If you write it down, it's still not even something that really exists, right? Whereas knowledge, 2 + 2 = 4, that is something that is real. It is based in reality. Okay, and so the evidence that I have for that is if I have 2 apples and then I add two more apples to the bushel, it becomes 4. Okay, so that evidence of knowledge, right, is the basis for faith. That's what faith is.
So if a thought it doesn't exist, right? How does the fMRI? What is it measuring then?
It's measuring light waves, patterns, that sort of thing. It's not an actual thought that's going through your mind. So those lights, those
electrical activity, isn't it? It's measuring the synapses.
Neurons.
So
Yep, exactly.
I can't tell you what that thought is. It's just saying there is activity.
Well, yeah, you can never point to what the thought. Well, you'd never be able to demonstrate. Until somebody comes up with a mind reading machine, you're never going to be able to demonstrate what a thought is.
Right. So that's why whenever we speak, we say colloquialisms, I guess is the word, like in my opinion, or in my view.
Do you sincerely believe that a thought doesn't exist?
Yes, I do believe that no thoughts are ever going to be tangible objects that you can hold and feel and touch.
Oh, tangible object. Okay, it's a slightly different thing.
Do you think it could exist as a vibration or
So the stinking English language, okay? So when you ask me, do I think, that's not the right question for me. So when Joshua asked me, he asked me, do I believe? So belief and thought are actually based upon two different precepts, okay? Belief is actually based upon faith, whereas thought is actually based upon theory, experiment, hypothesis, okay? And so that stinking English language, right? So you have to understand the differences of the two words.
Is this helping clarify a point, or is this just semantics?
Well, semantics are very important in debate, according to Andrew Wilson.
I mean, semantics are also
about
they muddy the
understanding
water.
faith. It's
Right.
about understanding faith.
In order to answer or in order to find out the answer to the question, the Socratic method, one must often ask the question. I think what we're doing is we're sussing each other's position out by asking questions. But if you feel as though if it's being mired down, then it's being mired
Well, I mean,
down.
I don't know. That's why I asked the question. I mean, it seems to me like it's
It's fair.
semantic and miring,
Yeah,
but
it's a
I'm
fair question.
open to the fact that I could just not be following where it's going.
It's pretty complex, man. I'm struggling.
So
I'm on the
what
struggle
is it
bus
about
myself.
the word faith that you think is not clearly understood?
Me?
Anybody?
Or
Because
Joshua?
somebody was just describing faith.
It seems to mean different things to different people. It can mean different things to
Right.
different people, can't it?
It can, but every word can, particularly ones that are describing something intangible. And there's really no way around that. I don't know that there's reason to believe that anybody doesn't understand what faith is or thought.
Okay. So
there's faith, and then there's blind faith, isn't there?
oh, absolutely. So there's these words. Okay, I'm going to run some by you. Think, okay, or thought, right? Idea, belief, okay, view, opinion, okay. Now, all of those we know aren't actual tangible things, but is knowledge tangible? Can knowledge be tangible?
No.
Well,
I think knowledge is the personal experience of a reality.
Well, if I have the knowledge on how to craft a house, and then I create that house with my knowledge, then it becomes tangible by process of the
house is
exercise.
tangible.
How do you
The knowledge
Right.
knowledge never is tangible.
Well,
Through
it has to be.
application.
Otherwise, how do you translate it?
Okay, to translate it, you have immaterial constructs, ideas in your head, which you can make notation of. That's why we have language.
That's why
And
we
written language as well. For instance,
Yeah.
someone could come up to your already built house and say, "Oh, I see he did this, 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 and this," and write that down. But it takes an intellect to gather data, to compile and assess that data and interpret it into knowledge. That makes sense?
and knowledge?
But
How do you?
knowledge can still be transmitted through a book.
You can transmit
instance,
a
a book.
but anybody that's tried to build a house by a book will be able to tell you that it doesn't exactly work how the instruction manual goes. Nothing goes as it's there's different things. So the knowledge of building a house will only be acquired when you build that house.
Well, no,
Fair
but
enough.
and the book isn't the knowledge. If I hand you a book, you don't know now. You just have a book.
Exactly.
Let
You have-
me
you
do
have
this flyover.
If you
Got
have,
5 gifted memberships from Major Facepalm. Go ahead, guys. Thank you, Major Facepalm.
So I'd like to bring it back to thought. Okay, so thought, or as I call it, thinking, theory, or thinkery. Okay, so when you write down your thoughts, okay, if it is written down on a piece of paper, say for instance, you write down the words, "I think, therefore I am." The knowledge that exists that you just wrote that down exists now, but it's still just a thought. You still think, therefore you are.
The knowledge does not exist. The knowledge is the intangible information. What exists is words on a page. But I can throw, if I wad it up and throw it at you, I didn't just throw a thought at you. You have not received a thought. You just got hit by a ball of paper.
Yeah, or it's the application of that information, that data. It's the because
so Socrates, okay? This is how Socrates won the West. This is exactly how he won the West. This is why, since Socrates, we call it the West, because we separated thought from knowledge. And well-applied knowledge becomes wisdom, actually. I mean, I don't, I guess I could go on and on about it and describe it in different ways. Ultimately, it does fall down to, again, going back to thoughts and beliefs, because if you want to say that knowledge isn't tangible the same way that thoughts aren't tangible because they can only both be written down. And if that's the case, then that's fine. But ultimately, 2 plus 2 will always equal 4, even if I write it down or if it's 2 apples plus 2 apples. That is knowledge. It is reality.
It will never be tangible, though.
So then all belief is fiction.
What about 1 times 1?
No, all belief is intangible. Fiction is imaginary.
So all belief is fiction because all imagination is fiction.
That is, for that to be true, it would have to be necessarily that only tangible things are real and everything else is fake. And that's not the truth.
So we live in reality, right?
We live in reality.
How do you know that?
Intangibles are a part of the real experience.
Look, all we have to do is look up. All we have to do is look up the word noun. It's a person, place, thing, or idea. They exist. Those are existent things. And we've already worked through all this.
Right.
Faith.
So if for something to exist, it doesn't need to be a tangible physical object for it to exist.
Right. Intangibles exist.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's interesting because the Bible says basically that the wind comes from the east, blows past you, and goes to where you do not know, yet you believe in that. That red sky at night, you say the weather will be fair the next morning. Red sky in the morning, then you say the weather will be bad. How is it that you can read these signs and understand these things, but when I speak to you of things of heaven, somehow you can't imagine these things, right? So so again, it goes back to the manual. It's if there's an error in the way the book is being written, the instructions are being written, or if there's an error in the way that they've been translated or received, then that's where the fault would be. When you said that you could read a book on how to build a house and something always goes wrong, well, the fault wasn't in the book. The fault was in the other aspects of the variables, to include possibly the builder.
Yeah,
There is no fault. The fault could just be in the fact that that a book is a finite, like all of reality can't fit into this.
Hold up. GS,
Yes,
your
sir.
Bible. Can you hold it up again, please?
No, I can't. It's intangible. My hand goes right through it.
How many books? How many books in it?
I could, Jesus.
66?
It's
If it's the
66.
King James, it's 66.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I couldn't tell you.
the original King James version, I guess it would be the 1611, I believe.
Mhm.
80 books?
So again, was that the fault in the people that wrote it down, or was that the fault?
I don't know. You tell me.
I just proposed the question to you.
So that's the evidence
your
you have to
premise
search out.
Isn't important.
Well,
Assigning fault doesn't matter. We're trying to figure out if something is true or not, or right or not. It doesn't matter whose fault something is, right?
So I'm going to do the quote, and I know everybody's going to hate me for it. So with great power comes great responsibility. You have power and dominion over your own being right now, okay? And what that means for you is if you are seeking life, future life, then you have to do the work.
Big fan of the work, though. That part I'm real big fan of.
But what do you think the work is?
To find the evidence for each individual, not me. I don't have to do it for you. I'm not trying to be condescending or anything. I don't have to do it for you. I've already done it for me.
Yeah. So once you found the evidence for you, then what's the work after that?
So that would go to the mother and child, right? So the mother would care for her child and tell the child that the stove is hot because she doesn't want her son's hand to burn. Now, for me, I'm seeking life, right? I want everyone to have that life. That's the hope, right? And so because of that, I share it. I just share my experience and say, hey, I found this because I looked at the evidence. That's faith. That's me sharing my faith.
I disagree, and here's why. A person can look for anything, and they'll find confirmation of the idea.
Patterns, yep.
We will naturally seek patterns, and we will naturally find them. And the only next logical step is to try to disprove whatever you see.
Yeah.
So if something is, and these are not confirmations because we do not know things. We all believe things. So the idea here is to use all methods possible to disprove a thing until you only have one thing left.
so like I've got my experience with the Shadow Man and Jesus, but I feel I know that was Jesus because that's who I was speaking to, but I can't. There's no way that I can prove that it was. I guess I just believe that it was because I can't say I absolutely know that the feeling and everything, you know, it all comported to Jesus, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I choose to believe. I choose to believe.
There would be some evidence and anti-evidences in a situation like that. Like okay, let's call him Jesus for now, just tentatively. That's just fine. Did that experience bring you to be more brave, more loving, more driven to study, more of a
Dude,
humanitarian?
it like it filled me. It the different like the I went from one state to a new state. I went from a state of in sort of hell to being filled with life, absolutely filled with life, and it basically
You
fueled my further um you know progression on the journey that
so you'd say it was encouraging to you. Has it been encouraging to others?
To those that have chosen to accept what I've said, but to so many people just don't seem they just I don't know, they just don't seem to believe it or hear what I'm saying.
That's okay.
Oh no, I was speaking to the devil. I was being
Well,
fucking deceived by Lucifer. It
of
was
course, you're going to
you
hear
know,
things like that, but the
all
proof is in the pudding. I mean, a good tree produces good fruit. Period. Doesn't take a genius to figure that one out. Okay, so if it edified you or edifies others or both, and is indeed good when we have the ought, human beings should be happy, right? And it has caused you that, then it was definitionally good for you, and it definitionally came from good.
right.
So I don't have a problem with it.
Well, good and bad are incredibly subjective, at least to humans. If we're talking about biblically, all things
What do
are
you
good.
mean? What do you
So,
mean it's subjective to humans?
good and bad are value judgment calls. I might like, let's say, okay, so you talk about all trees, or like a tree produces a good fruit. I'm sitting here in a country with a lot of people that believe that durian is a really good fruit. I happen to think it smells like some asshole hasn't wiped their ass for like 10 years, right? It smells like shit. I consider it to be very bad fruit, won't even allow the crap in my house, right? Yet I'm in a culture that believes this is like the fruit of the gods kind of thing. It's
What kind of
cultural.
fruit?
Uh-huh.
Durian,
Never heard of it.
Durian.
Anyways,
Okay,
Tastes
you're
like peanut butter, smells like non-wiped ass.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it tastes good, doesn't it?
the point of somebody asserting good or bad, it's usually going to be relative to a goal, but it's always going to be subjective to a human, specific, or going to be subjective within humans. It just
But
is.
you're
The
just
thing.
repeating. You're just giving all the rationalization
Right.
why I said if you have not.
However, within your own Bible, all things are good. All things are created by God, aka even the bad stuff that we all criticize. 1 Timothy chapter 4. Let's see here. Let's see here. I am.
Are you just going to go on, or do other people speak
Well,
with
no,
you?
that's literally the thing. Your own scripture, your book says all
I'm
things.
familiar.
what is the point that you're like? What's the point?
He's asserting good or bad, but his position, scripturally speaking, doesn't align with what he stated.
First, you don't know my position. Second, you don't know how I read the scriptures because you can't know my mind. You understand that? And I'm accepting this about you as well.
So you're just basically forget what it says, because it quite literally says this blatantly.
No, I'm not cherry picking the text in a logical fallacy. But what I did say is you and I might read the Bible differently.
I love it when people speak for me.
I don't.
Yeah, me either. Just people, we're grown-ups, man. We say what we say. Don't try to read into what you think we're saying. Just respond to the words that came out of our mouths in good faith, as I'm going to respond to people's words that they come out of their mouths. I hate it when people try to rephrase what it is you're saying, and it's like what you just said. Salad cherry picking the Bible. You cherry picked his words, and then made a whole different recipe out of them.
Yeah, he all things according to Scripture, all things are good, even the bad stuff.
No.
But not all things are expedient.
Well, expedient
All
would be a
things can
different
be
concept.
used for good.
Well, what are you quoting there? And you can please do tell me how you read that section, and then I'll tell you how I read it, and then we could have a discussion instead of a lot of accusations.
Here's an example. Stalin kills what, 40 million people?
No, please stay with the Bible, please.
Well, I'm trying to use it. Now the question is Stalin a man of God? God
not interested. Next topic.
Okay, so it's right, like the concept you're speaking of good and bad, right? But you're not going to like lean on it one way or the other. So it's just subjective. It means nothing. You're just asserting something is good. It has no value, no meaning.
But all you're doing is saying, Richard, were you careful to say ought? And I was.
Yeah, good is contextually. I mean, I don't think that his statement was confusing. In context, we understood what he meant.
Okay, let me
always relative.
Yeah, let me take a stab at it. Do I think it's good that we had an example of someone like Stalin doing some horrible thing with a really crap model known as socialism and communism? Yeah, I think it's really good for us to understand and stop trying to recreate that nonsense and say, well, if you just applied it the right way, it would work this time. So, yeah, maybe it's a good thing that we have an example in history of what fucking retard megalomaniacs look like when they get put in power. Does that answer your question, Joshua?
See, that's a fair assessment.
So even things that are evil can be used for good.
Yeah, we're not very good at learning. That's true, Flo.
We're awful. Like,
well, maybe
Flo. Earlier, you made a statement I'd love to get back to as soon as Richie's done.
So I was just saying, we're not taught like if those that forget their past are doomed to repeat it. Well, we don't really know our past, so it's no fucking. We don't know if we're repeating it. It seems like we are, but.
We're told the wrong things to learn. We're given the wrong takeaways from the lessons of history. For me, because I've got an economics background, I can see it clearly in economics, right? I can see clearly that this is what caused this, but what we're being sold is a whole different narrative. They've redefined inflation to take governments printing money out of it. It's absurd. Anyways, Richard, you were about to bring me up, right?
Yep. And since we are all only here to engage with you, because he's never been a narcissist whatsoever.
I'm leaning into it, baby.
So, that's right. Just face the mirror and say, "Hey, that's me." It's fine. Okay, so you made a statement like, and I would want clarity on this. What exactly you meant that possibly the Bible is not all true, right?
Yeah.
That's an affirmative.
I mean, yes, that is an affirmative. I mean, I don't.
Now, would you say that there are parts of you and your social interactions and even your very personal interactions that would be reflected in some parts of the Bible? For instance, say the Olivet Discourse. That some of that actually you're already using.
Yeah. I regularly reference the Bible in these sort of discussions. I'm actually using it right now. This is my main source of income. So yeah, I could say that it has to that extent. Sure.
Okay. So here's the interesting part to me. Against my intuition, I started doing things that were written in there that I thought were false, and they wouldn't work in reality. And I would tell you exactly what I have gained from trying to employ them. I have gained respect from people who barely know me because I am obviously straightforward and never manipulative. I have gained a stable living situation where I don't pay for rent, electricity, water, internet, bathrooms, etc. I actually live in where I am right now at no monetary cost to me.
Amen.
And what do I return for that? Nothing. I don't do anything for the property owner whatsoever, except they appreciate what I am employing that I gained from the Bible.
So so specifically by sharing your interpretation, you found patrons, I suppose, for lack of a better word. But that's not actually employing like a Bible verse directly, right?
Sometimes, yes, it is.
You're employing Richard's understanding.
Well, that's true. It is my own biases in the reading frame I've adopted.
Seek first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you. All you need is clothes and food.
That's that
So
prosperity.
there's a scripture for you, Flo, right there.
I'm sorry.
Flo.
I'm sorry, Flo. It was the look on your face. I have to ask this. Do you think his position is weird and abnormal?
Richard's?
Yeah.
Just because it's not doggy doesn't make it weird or abnormal.
No,
okay.
I think it is likely more godly than most people's takes on it, but I also think that it is.
Hold up. How uncommon do you think televangelism is?
It's massive. If I've said a ton of times, if
it was the case that people were paying for somebody's or paying somebody, whether it was, house them, clothe them, whatever, right? Or giving monetary gains one way or the other, for their views on the Bible or views within Christianity, right? If it's common within televangelism, why is it abnormal for this guy to have the same benefits?
Fair point.
Because it's so horribly fringe. It's not because I can sell a product that people are already aware of and trust in, which is what Osteen is doing.
I don't know if I agree with the characterization of fringe, right? But that's, again, I'm judging society.
I called myself fringe. Are you okay with
I know, and I'm disagreeing with you, and the reason is because
you don't know that. You absolutely don't know that.
Well, sure. So,
just tell me my view on the Trinity, and I will retract my prior statement.
I don't know. I disagree with the Trinity.
Oh, well, give me my view on heaven then.
It doesn't matter.
How about the resurrection?
I'm going to
particulars of your view are not
your position is not as abnormal as most people would seem to think.
Josh, you're into making claims you can't back up. You should stop it.
You've been corrected like 4 times
how many
already.
televangelists do we need to go down?
Let me steel man.
But again,
he's not them.
Let me steel man. I don't think he's referring to your view specifically, but the model of having a new view on an old book. Am I right, Josh, or did I just?
Yeah, it's not the specific details. It's the concept of the action. It's not.
I'm telling you, the concept is very different.
What about what's his name? My God, the guy I love to hate on your panel.
Kenneth Copeland. He's my homie.
Not Copeland. The guy.
Kenneth
the
Copeland, Creflo Dollar, Joel Olstein. Yeah, you've said
the YouTube guy that was just in here, or usually frequents in here. What the hell was his damn name?
Jill?
He's just on. Like, he's barely known. The YouTube channel.
So Joshua, can I ask you a question?
He does the same thing.
Do you trust? I don't know if you have siblings or family at all, but do you trust your family? Do you have trust in your family?
Yeah. Not like a blanket statement, right? Like
any person at all. Period. Do you trust your dog? Okay. What specifically do you trust them with? Do you trust them with certain aspects of your life?
Well, so like my mother, a lot of experience within banking, so I really trust her when it comes to my taxes.
Gotcha. Okay, so you'd trust that she would handle your finances much better than certain types of people. Well, that in of itself is faith. Just so you know.
Oh, okay, which is fine, right? Like I'm okay with it. We're just gonna have to get rid of the mustard seed of whatever. In which case, I don't have a mustard seed of faith. I have a lot.
Okay, so to D-Doc's point, so what he was explaining to you is his experiences, right? And so if we're, and I'm not trying to again be condescending or anything, but if you want someone to trust your experience, you'd have to be able to converse with them, and so they'd be able to explain their experiences as well. And that's
the,
just Socratic
yeah,
method.
the getting around and just like what's your experience kind of thing. It's more or less just a really simple question. How did you conclude X?
And if you hear it and you don't agree with that his faith is strong enough, then that's your position. And that's the part where you say, okay, I accept that that's your position, and then you move on. You can't tell him what he thinks or
I
believes.
mean, I think that there
or
was-
knows.
I did.
I don't think that-
I didn't harp on that.
Yeah, I don't think that advice is relevant to the miscommunication that was happening.
I try.
Besides,
really hard.
I come onto these channels at the chance that someone might show me what I'm thinking of poorly.
Yes, to learn.
I think that you're misunderstanding what Josh is saying, and Josh isn't communicating it great. He's not saying that your take isn't novel. He's saying that the approach of having a new take isn't novel.
Well, that's very cordial of you. It's very forgiving, and perhaps that's the case. But if you're right, you're completely right that he didn't communicate that.
And
Well-
whatever happened to nothing new under the sun? How can it be novel if there's nothing new under the sun? That doesn't make any sense to me.
That's an occult. What's that
Oh.
from?
Yeah, that's
King Solomon.
Just saying.
So is there anything new?
so. I say that everybody's experience subjectively is unique. So your experience of this reality of the world, the universe, everything, your experience is new. Your experience is new and 100% unique because nobody else has lived your life. Only you've lived that life. Only you've been the conscious being within that vessel, experiencing what you've experienced in the order that you've experienced it. And in that sense, that's brand new because nobody's done it before. They might have lived a similar life or done similar things, but they've never done it exactly as you've done it. And that's where I say that everybody's relationship with God is unique and personal, because otherwise you're going off other people's experience. You're going from other people's perceptions of what's going on. Then they're filtering through your own perceptions. If you have a personal experience, which you have to seek, you have to ask for it to get it. But that's what gave me faith.
So, question: have you ever experienced deja vu before?
I used to experience it a lot more. I haven't experienced
When I was younger.
it in a long
Yeah,
time.
me too. So, how do you explain deja vu if it's been a completely unique experience?
It doesn't. So you might have the same experience, but in the order in which that experience came in your life, so if deja vu is like let's say it's a timeline thing, where where we're running with a parallel timeline or something, and so you're seeing something that maybe you've experienced, but you've experienced it in a different timeline. But that timeline is going to be unique to this. It's not going to be the same as this timeline. That's why they're different timelines, because they're different. So I've lost my train of thought where I'm going with that.
I think there are moments where they kind of merge the two timelines, you could say. Maybe
I think if there are timelines, there's more than two, because there's more than two people on this earth. Every single one of us is generating or has potential timelines.
Yeah.
But I mean, the question was sort of like asking if you've had Fruity Pebbles before and then you have them again and they taste the same. How do you explain that? I mean, the same sensation happening. It doesn't negate Richie's point. I didn't explain my rebuttal well.
It's not that it does or doesn't negate it. It adds an interesting point to it. Something worth exploring. What is deja vu exactly? What is the belief of reincarnation? What is the belief in, living multiple lives, allegedly? I mean, as a Christian, I'm not supposed to think these things, but yet my Lord and Savior rose from the dead. So explain that one.
When you research into Christianity, you realize that they used to believe in reincarnation, then they used to preach it.
Yeah.
So
What
what changed
is
there?
the
I personally
on.
believe I'm carrying a reincarnated soul. The soul that I'm carrying is reincarnated. That's the immortal part, but that's the spiritual part, having the physical experience, which is me with my ego being attached to the vessel, the operating system of my vessel. So the soul, the ego is temporary, only while it's here.
Slightly confused here. Let me get some clarification. Book of Revelations. That would be within Christian doctrine, correct? What would be the resurrection if not like reincarnation?
It's just what I said. Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I don't know. Well, I was asking 007, but
Yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it?
I would think so. I mean, obviously different word, but I mean,
but they used to teach it as it was like we are reincarnated, as in our souls. The soul is reincarnated.
Stop, dude. Stop it. Stop pawing me, damn dog. Won't leave me alone. I let him out again. Sorry, guys. Kick me if you need room, bro. I'll be right back.
No, you're good.
These dogs are driving me crazy. They keep
My
pawing at me.
My browser's froze, so I'm gonna have
This
to.
is why I'm not a dog person.
Yeah, I'm a cat person too. I have 3 cats.
Damn it.
I'm not really an animal. I mean, like, I don't know. We've got 2 cats. They're fine. We're dog sitting right now. It's annoying. It's not the worst. They're good dogs, but just they take up a lot of space.
Yeah, that's true.
And they poop places. All right, let me. This is I uploaded a short. I guess it was yesterday. I think probably. Anyways, this is sort of relevant to the topics. I'm going to go ahead and play it because I think I encapsulate my view nicely. Having a relationship with God and getting to know Him through the things that He reveals to you. I would say, what has He revealed to you? You'll say the Bible. I'll say, no, He hasn't revealed that to you. A man has given that to you. What has He given you? Your brain, your logic, your reason, your experiences, your ability to interact in the world that He created, and then reason for yourself and think through these things. God gave you your eyes and your brain. God didn't give you the book. A man gave you the book and said God gave it to some other man.
But you could argue that the writers did get it from what you're claiming. As in,
yeah,
what
but I don't
was
know why I
revealed
would
to
trust their
them, they
experience
wanted
more
to
than I
share.
trust my experience.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted again.
Yeah, you're good.
So yeah, I mean, to that point, right? So yeah, I mean, you know, I believe that these types of conversations are very beneficial for anybody and everybody, you know. But to that point, in regards to the short, so this is basically my personal view, and I hope I can relate this experience for me, how I view it. And this, again, going back to opinion, view, it's not necessarily, you know, fact and not fiction, right? Because ultimately, you know, this is still just view. The earth and all of its substance, it exists within the physicality, the physical form. And so my belief is that there was a creator of all of that, right? Including human beings, the life, the spirit that's in them, and any spirit beings that exist in or outside of that realm, all the way up to the realm of what's described as heaven. So if He created all of those things and men were given dominion over it the way that the book describes, then they would simply be able to formulate a certain, I guess, substance to a mass and then create. And it's not real creation because it was already existing, right? So they cut the tree, they, you know, shaved down pages.
Doesn't Genesis say that He divided? Doesn't Genesis imply that there was already something there? He divided the dark from the light. He divided things.
So yeah, you know where I was going with it. Yep. Okay. So
I don't know where you're going with it.
The earth was desolate and void, isn't it? It's
right. So originally, it describes it as in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So there was nothing before that. It was just non-existence except for him. And so if it was just him before that, there was non-existence in physical form.
Let's consult the Bible. I still am. Sometimes I look at my life and I go, am I really having Bible studies on YouTube? Just like me 10 years ago, never would have fucking thought this at all.
It's the study of reality, man. It's not
Like,
just the Bible, though.
Honestly, when I
President me
first
still
met you,
doesn't think that this is like, what the fuck?
I forget when we first met, but I wouldn't have thought that this would have been when we first met, the conversation that we would have ended up having on your channel.
Testing reality.
But that's one of the things I love about you. Oh, I clipped you earlier. And made it into a little video. You going, have you ever seen childbirth?
In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So the second verse implies that there was not nothing.
No, it was there, and it was a huge, deep, water.
I mean, it doesn't imply it. It straight up says the earth was without form and void. So that is that.
Well, so let's take that and break it down. Okay. So it says in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, right? So what happened before he created it?
There's two creation stories in Genesis, though, aren't there?
Yeah. So there are actually two.
You can create something without. I mean, if I create a painting, there was already paint.
Well. So that's not. GS, you're muted.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just saying I like that flow. That was awesome, man. Go ahead, Brick.
Which part?
When you said if you're going to create a painting, that preclude that necessitate that
the
paint
materials are already in existence.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like that.
But it gives it form. Yeah.
Right. So when it talks about the earth being without form and void, right? Void, right? Void is like, okay, that's the vacuum of space, right? So that's non-existence. It's non-existence in the physical form.
Right. Listen, that's what it means to us now. Yeah. Void means space, the vacuum of space to us now. What do you think it meant to us 2,000 years ago?
In Hebrew, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm writing it down to ask Richard.
It didn't mean the vacuum of space.
Oh, there he is. Tell us about the void. What's void?
Unreality.
Well,
okay,
it's an
so
interesting question because a lot of languages didn't actually even have a word for zero and things like that. So there's basically most people like primitive societies, let's say, don't even have a concept for nothing.
Void does not mean absence. That's incorrect. If you go through what's commonly accepted by many scholars, Jusinius, Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, the terms, and I'm sure you're referring to, I just walked in, but Genesis and the earth was formless and void. Okay, yes. So if you look into those words, formless means without area distinctions. Okay, now let's just talk about that real quick. How can something that doesn't exist be without area extinctions? It's like saying I have a lack of car and it has a full tank of gas. That would be contradictory. It just doesn't work. And then the word void means void of life forms. So how could a non-existent thing also? Well, that's just redundant. Of course, if there's nothing there, it's absent of life forms. So either A, it's being contradictory and redundant simultaneously, or the Christians have it wrong.
I mean, I think void is just an empty space. So there's a container that that is void. It is void of anything in it.
Right. I could say I just started a terrarium. It's void of turtles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like what Flo said earlier when he said, if I'm going to create a painting, that necessitates that paint already exists.
Yes. The word bara in the create, and actually it reads Elohim bara. And what that means is that powerful beings reformed.
Interesting. So do you think our Earth was terraformed and it took 6,000 years?
No, it took no. Okay. Also, the word yam is, and we get a lot of our language from the Semitic languages. You may be already aware. And we have colloquial usage of things. For instance, Michael Jordan was the poo in his day. Does that mean his career lasted one day? Well, no, it doesn't. It's indefinitive. So you have to take it in context. A day is 1,000 years. Well, does that mean every time it says day, it means 1,000 years? Well, no, you have to take it in context.
So from my view, again, going back to my view, what I see is that you're assuming that I don't believe that there was existence before the physical existence. That's why I keep referencing the physical existence. So my view of it is that there are two realms, if you will. Like, so there's the spiritual realm, right? The heavens, like the heaven, right? Where God exists. And he has power and dominion over that entirely, just like he has power and dominion over the physical entirely. Does that make sense?
I'm sure that was for Josh.
You could translate the like in the Bible it says that the heavens are within you, aren't they? The kingdom of God is within you. So that the kingdom of God is heaven, isn't it?
So there are actually three different types of heavens described in the Bible. There's the heavenly realm where God resides, right?
Heavens.
Then there is the heavens of the earth, which would be the skies. And then there's the heavens as in all the way out into outer space and into the stars and that sort of thing. So there's actually three.
But also isn't the kingdom of heaven has come to earth too as well. Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand.
Right.
So then maybe there would be four, maybe, I don't know, man.
Well,
I mean, that's a good question, right?
Well, so, okay, going back to my view again. Okay, so there are heavenly creatures that exist within that heavenly realm. Those are called angels. And they have at times come to the earth. That's my view of it, is that they have come to the earth at times, say, like for the example of Daniel, right? When he was in the lion's den, right? And then you've got the instance of Jesus, right? Where he was actually inserted into the womb of Mary, right?
Dude, I think angels present themselves on a daily basis. They present themselves as other humans that come in and do things. I believe guardian angels exist as well. Like, I've had 4 near-death experiences in my life, so guardian angels definitely exist for me.
I just saw an angel full screen.
That.
It's amazing.
It was amazing.
That was beautiful. I just looked up and I saw that as well.
I'd love to have an argument sometime with you. Do you prefer to be called Brick or?
Yeah, Brick's good. Yeah,
Brick.
We could definitely.
I would love to have a conversation. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, we can either plan that on my channel, your channel. I always enjoy having conversations with Brick. I think there's a willingness to understand. Yeah,
there seems an evident honest. Sorry, there seems an evident honesty. We're just running over each other.
3 times. Come on, we got it.
Let's go for 3. Yeah. There just seems to be an evident honesty and openness in you. And to me, at least, it seems there's at least some kind of skepticism that you are thinking about these things, and good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I would actually assert to go ahead, Josh. I had the floor for a minute.
My first question to Brick is I guess the idea of like Isaiah 45:7, like the idea of what a void is, doesn't really seem like it would matter one way or the other. The claim is that God created both of them, both the lightness and the void. So I don't really understand. I don't understand how you concluded what you concluded, or even like the idea of what you said didn't make any sense to me. 007, your idea about not virgins, angels, to me, a little bit weird too, because the whole idea with all of the angels that appeared, at least biblically speaking, right, was always a fear not. Didn't seem like they were trying to integrate with us too much, and kind of like.
Not always.
Dude,
We're talking good 85, 90% of the time. They had to be warned, don't run away, don't fear us, we're here for whatever reason, right?
Well, let me just correct the record. Angel means messenger, which could be a man as well. But I understand what you're saying, and that was kind of alarming.
So that was the idea that like angels like walking amongst us and we would recognize them. If that was true, then what was the point of saying like, hey, don't fear us kind of thing?
Well, I just explained it. It could be a messenger. A messenger could be a man. A messenger could be a man giving a message from God, or it could be an angel giving a message from God. So
why
maybe
would
it's the translation on. Well, what I would recommend is go search it out in the Bible and find out which angel they're talking about.
There is good answers for it. Hebrew scripture is really good for this, and this is because, angels have been really described as really terrifying looking creatures. Like, don't even really make much. Like, one of them's even like described as something which kind of weird, like a Dyson sphere with eyes. It's kind of a weird looking description. Okay. It is what it is.
So then I want you to explain the part. I want you to explain the part in Sodom and Gomorrah when they said the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, when they saw the angels, they wanted to grape them.
Same reason why bestiality is a thing. People apparently like to have sex with all kinds of weird stuff.
The attic is
right, but listen, you're gish-gashing right now because I'm answering your premise. I'm heading on directly. Explain to me that if people are either terrified and have to be warned not to be afraid of them, why would they want to turn around and grape them?
Because I
don't know.
They presented themselves as men. They presented themselves as human men.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The messenger can come as its actual existing thing, or it would come as man, as a representation, but it's a messenger. So, but I understand your point, Joshua. I'm not trying to detract from your point. There were passages in the Bible.
Do you guys believe?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
interrupt. Do you guys believe? I gotta ask. Do you guys believe that if you were to randomly come into like contact with an angel, you would, be able to identify it as an angel?
Yes.
Well, not every time.
Damn. Okay.
No, I don't.
For the reasons that they're much larger, much more fit, and much more healthy, and without scars, and beautiful than we are.
Okay, so I'm going to correct it. I'm on Joshua's side on this one. The Bible says that you should basically pay attention when you're hosting. Be good when you're hosting strangers, because you never know if you're hosting an angel.
Yeah, and that's the story behind Sodom and Gomorrah.
But so
I would say that's true in the eventuality that you become an angel. I'm hosting angels right now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But no, we're man. How do we become angels? That doesn't.
I'll explain that. That's a whole nother topic.
Remember what you told us about messenger, right?
Yeah, messengers. That's what I'm saying. A messenger could be someone that has a message, a divine appointment from God meant to you in season, out of season. We're supposed to be there to sow. You could reap something. You could water somebody. Count it all joy when your car breaks down on the side of the road, because the person that you're going to talk to that's coming to help fix your tire, they needed the word of encouragement in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You just kept them from going home and starting a shotgun.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be prophecy.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Oh, if that's the definition, if that's the usage we're using, it is edification by message from God. If that's your definition of angel, then I'd say, no, you can't tell the difference.
Right. And there is a difference between spirit creatures who are called angels, and then you've got the spirit creatures who are called the other ones.
Well, and like, maybe it's that people are inspired by angels to go and do something, go and step in, or, but because I don't know about being, I don't think that the angel has has permission to possess a vessel that has a.
No, you have to give permission. Only demons take without asking.
I agree.
I don't think the demons have the right to take either. I think that whole, you have this sovereign authority over your vessel, so you can be tricked into inviting.
Hey Ash, or Ariel. Ariel, can you flick your cam on just so I can see who you are and give me the middle finger?
If the channel name is Ariel's Orchard, I'll vouch.
I was like, is that who's that behind underneath Sasquatch? Is that a
that's
Barbie?
That's Barbie.
Is that a guy or a girl?
No, that's what is it she called?
implicit.
Sorry, Barbie. I
M's,
apologize.
M's awesome, man.
Okay, but you know Ariel R.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Peace and respect.
Good. Welcome.
Peace and respect.
Namaste. Salam alaikum.
So he doesn't
Howdy,
have
fam.
to say it himself. Let me say it for him. Despite his age, this particular man has spent a lot of time in the original biblical Hebrew and is very familiar with a lot of the backstory as well.
Right on.
Respect.
Wow, I just looked down at my hand and realized how old I am. My goodness, look at the wrinkles. My goodness.
Do you know, I never believed when you said your age, I never believed it. But now I see you on camera. When did you start using a camera, man?
I normally do. I only recently haven't been.
Well, this is the first time I've seen you, so it's good to put a face to that.
Yeah, that just tells me you've never actually watched one of my videos from my channel. That's all that says.
No, I haven't. Dude, I
So
haven't.
disloyal.
Damn.
Hey,
Shots fired.
I am shit.
I think that we need to have a beard off.
No.
No, I trimmed the heck out of mine, dude. I trimmed almost
shit.
all of mine down.
I've lost.
You know what? Ariel might be able to.
I've
Here.
lost. I've not got a full face.
No, not you. You're down here with me. You're not. You're no.
I don't normally.
If the only thing that matters is length.
Yeah, I think Richard's got us beat.
Yeah, I don't normally come
all
on
about the
camera.
girth, baby. It's all about the girth.
But if
See,
you
I
want to
gotta
run
go
it back,
too.
I was there for like a second.
Let's see the length of GS's though. That looks pretty long.
He's hiding it behind that microphone down there.
It's long enough to plait, isn't it?
I trimmed it up,
baby. I'd plait that baby up, man. That's a Viking beard right there.
Right on.
Oh, Brick. Yeah. You got way more facial hair than me.
Wait! I missed it. Come on. What happened? Oh, that's a good full beard. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Ariel, Ashrael, Richard said, despite your age, so you're, I'm going to say, like early 30s,
Mid-20s.
Huh?
Yeah, mid-20s.
He's in his 20s.
Mid-20s.
Yep.
I've never met him before. I'm just saying, like, I'm 37.
Somebody's got like
Somebody's
doing laundry or a dog itching in the background or something.
It's coming through Ariel, but it won't get too loud. It's always like that.
I do keep it shorter usually, but it's kind of scraggly right now. I'm gonna have to clean it up.
I won't grow much
Hey
longer,
guys,
man.
what's
How
your favorite
thick
what's your
beard-
favorite fingernail polish color that you guys use? Because what are we talking all this gay stuff about beards? Let's go. Let's talk about God some more.
Yeah, exactly.
Pink.
Let's do big brain erudite ivory tower thoughts. Come on.
Sometimes we got to have a break and do lowbrow shit. You can't think too heady all the time, or else you.
What?
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Totally disagree.
That's a really lowbrow thought you just had right there. Low state.
That was good enough. It was a good enough break. Let's go on with it.
I've got more of them.
So
remember way back when I said this? I didn't mean that. I think it.
Ariel was one of the angels, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, Ariel can speak to that.
And Azrael was one of the demons. Ariel.
So I think you're thinking of Uriel, which means the light of God. And one thing that's interesting, because I was actually recently trying to like transcribe the transliteration of some of the ball cycle in Ugaritic. And what's interesting is that the way that
same here, bro. I'm gonna swirly this nerd right
He said the ball cycle in Uderitic. Come on, guys, keep up.
He's smart, dude. I love it.
But one thing that I noticed is there's a reference to I forget which figure it is, but basically it calls her the daughter of light, BTRE. But what's interesting is that like I read this and it's like immediately it coded in my mind as lie and not as light, but technically like they share the same basic root letters of Aleph and Resh. But and then with certain like letters that double as vowels like Yod and Vav, even though they are different, there are a lot of connections between the two of them. But interestingly enough, Ariel is I found this a few months ago. I was looking in in like a Hebrew English, or no, I think it was a Brown Strivers Briggs, and it had the first meaning of the name Ariel, not as Lion of God, but actually as Lioness of God. And so I was like looking more into this and saw, okay, well, it's described as like one of the names, like a poetic name of Zion or, Jerusalem. And so looking more into it, there probably is a lot of like fulfillment of this role of like, basically it's connected with the temple, that name. And so it might be seen as like the temple is almost like the feminine counterpart to God, like the house that God dwells in.
Can I extrapolate from that and say something like lioness as in the feminine form of the Christ, the lion, and thereby the bride of Christ?
Nerds.
Less likely, because the idea of like the bride of the Messiah is separate from this.
Then what are we saying? The wife of Christ, like the literal singular person, lioness?
No, the wife of God.
Wife of God. Okay, the feminine God. Okay, cool.
So the like the divine feminine sort of.
Yeah. Spoken of in Psalm of Solomon, etc.
I just remembered as well, and it's funny because it's your picture. Did you paint that behind you?
I think it was pastel, but yeah.
Oh right. Well, I just remember that Ariel is actually an English washing powder as well.
Yeah.
Can we go back to talking about beards and stuff? I'm lost with this other stuff, man. I'm sorry,
know
Flo. I shouldn't have got my involved in. I shouldn't have tried to raise it. Now I need to go back to the kiddie pool again.
I'm 47 years old. How the fuck do I get my beard to grow that long? Because it stops growing.
Oh, actually, that's genetic. Your hair length. Every single one of your hair lengths is genetically decided before you're born. Actually. Which is why you don't have to trim eyelashes, you don't have to trim eyebrows, armpit hair, etc. It has a maximum length.
Hold up about no eyebrows.
Well, as you get older, you might.
My eyebrows are out of control.
Nose hair.
Wearing a wife beater.
Nose hair and earlobe hair. Why doesn't that fucking stop growing? I have to trim that.
So that's all predetermined. Your maximum hair length for whatever follicle is predetermined genetically.
Do noses and ears continue to grow as well as like even at? They continue to grow, right?
And also the penis, you'll be pleased to know.
Continues.
Does.
Yeah.
That just continues to lose elasticity, so it looks like it's getting longer.
Those
are the balls.
Either that, or you could just say it's constantly growing, constantly shrinking.
Yeah. You ever see the nut bra from Mad TV? You should pull that little skit up. It's kind of funny. It shouldn't get copyright struck. It's like this old guy sitting on a toilet and his balls falling. He's like, She's like, what's the matter? His wife's like, what's the matter? He's like, my nuts fell in the toilet bowl again. And then he sits on him in another scene. He screams. She's like, what's wrong? So she buys him like a nut bra for Christmas. So now he doesn't sit on it anymore. His nuts are disgusting.
Whatever. Chicks dig balls.
Dude, South Park, Randy Marsh, microwave.
Oh my god! Imagine Abraham imagine Abraham making Eliezer swear on those balls.
Wait, what is that even about? What?
I don't get the.
Well, Asher and I agree. Ariel and I agree that when it says thigh, it's not talking about your thigh. It's not talking about anybody's thigh.
What's the verse or what's the
gird
scenario?
and loins.
Let me see if I can find it.
Just praise God, man. Fucking praise God. God is so amazing.
Because we're talking about scripture, there is there are obviously reports that there's, and I've seen myself, Mandela effects, changes to the Bible, basically to the scripture. Have you seen the one where it's talking about the ejaculation of horses?
What?
You're talking about the book of Ezekiel.
Oh yeah, it's in reference to the was it the mission of Egyptian men?
Right,
emissions.
They're coming forth like the ejaculation from stallions or something. But
I know what verse you're talking about.
Ejaculation in it.
It says that their emissions are like, I think the word best translates as horses. And that's not necessarily talking about ejaculation. And that's imposed onto the text. Personally, I think it means he watched them take a whiz.
No, I think that this is the point. I think there has been a change somewhere where it doesn't say the emissions, it says the ejaculation. Because
Well, it could in some modern translations.
Because the issue was this young girl was she was on TikTok or something, and she was saying, "What the hell is this?" Like it's got me. The Bible's got me thinking about that, about sex, about men and ejaculation, and she was horrified by the fact that the Bible had put her in a carnal mindset.
No, she put her in a carnal mindset. The Bible isn't. No, you're supposed to
doesn't do
take
that.
any of those thoughts captive.
I think Ezekiel is testifying to the physical prowess in the beings he's observing. I don't think it's like bragging about them ejaculating.
I think that it's also a moral confusion that people work so hard to avoid carnal mindsets that is basically as fundamental as to your biology as well as eating. Almost not really.
Not just biology, but Bibleology. Like seriously, if you try to make the Bible a non-sexual text, you're not doing it justice.
That's true.
But
Well, if you look at the story of Adam and Eve.
So actually, in that case as well, the word that gets translated as side or rib, or actually no, it gets translated as rib, but most literally could be side. There's also, I think, some translators that actually look at it as like potentially a reference to the baculum. So almost like that's kind of taking from this like similar motif as Greek mythology, where the genitals, though in this case they're where the genitals are part of the genitals of this one figure are separated from him, and then that goes on to create this second figure. So it's like you have a lot of interesting stuff going on there, where it's like it doesn't mean rib. That's only one of the possible translations. Another way of looking at it is kind of within the like hermaphroditic sense, that there was this like primordial Adam that was like half female like on one side and half male on the other, and then they were split down the middle, and that created two separate people.
There's also the translation of fruit, the forbidden fruit, that has also sexual connotations in the original translation, or because there's more than one possible translation. One of the possible translations has sexual connotations. So that Satan had sex with Eve first. That's why he put enmity between his seed and hers.
I read it very different from that, but
okay. So I found the verse. So here I'm going to share the screen. So it's from Ezekiel 23:20, and from what I'm finding, it seems like it probably is a reference. Well, I mean, I can translate it, but let's see, Ezekiel 23:20.
I mean, if that's Hebrew and it turns out to be like mayim, meaning juice, which could include ejaculation or urine or fruit juice.
Isn't it Arabic? Isn't it translated from Arabic?
No, Hebrew.
Some very, very few parts of Old Testament are originally in Aramaic.
No, Aramaic.
Aramaic, yes.
Yes, you're right. I said it wrong.
So let's see. So she had inordinate affection or lust over or like upon Palgshehem. What is this word? For their with their concubines or paramours, that asher basar chamorim, that had the flesh of chamorim, of donkeys, bisharam basaram, their flesh. Yeah. Oh no. So this is interesting. So both of these words are basar, but in one case it's translating this as members, and in the second case organs. But literally the word is flesh. So
could you read it to us literally?
Yeah. So and she lusted after I guess either concubinage or like I think that makes more sense. Like after their concubinage, that or no, after their concubines or their I honestly I don't know the context that's being used here, but that I sure that the flesh that they're or here it's translating it. Well, that their I'll translate it literally. That their flesh or that have flesh of donkeys and their flesh or their meat. Also, this word flesh meat interchangeable, so you could use meat or flesh. And their meat, vizir mat. Oh, okay. And their meat issues or flows susim zimartam, like the flow or the issue or literally seminal discharge of donkeys, or no, sorry, of horses. So it says that their genitals are like donkeys and that their ejaculation is like horses.
The concubines.
No, well, I mean, it says there she lusted for concubinage with them. Does that mean
she wanted to be a concubine? It's a good question.
She wanted concubine. Yeah, she wanted to be with them. She lusted after them.
So, I mean, in this context, it's being used like metaphorically to talk about idolatry on the part of the Israelites in Egypt. So this like lusting for concubinage with them, like that she lusted upon upon their paramours. Okay, so this is actually interesting. I wonder if in this context you could actually view paramour like it might be referring potentially to the Egyptian gods here, because the hem would refer to Egypt, but the paramours or the concubines of Egypt, and this is being used as a way of like not of saying the Israelites were whoring around. It's a way of saying they were idolatrous, because you have this parallel drawn between idolatry and adultery. And so I think with that, it's probably best to read this that they like it's basically just being used as a way of demeaning the people who followed Egyptian religion, despite being Israelites or Semitic Canaanites or Hyksos or whatever you would have had back then.
Let me jump in real quick and thank Jim from Florida for the 5 gifted memberships.
Nice one.
Carry on, guys.
What place just got lit the fuck up? Because that looks pretty destructive.
Side chat.
So I've got clips for when people gift memberships, because when you gift a membership in YouTube, in the chat, live chat, it says who was gifted a membership. And so when I made that clip, there was a lot of lurkers in the chat who were not really friends to the channel, and so that's sort of where the concept came from. So I've got 3 different clips: one for people who give 1 membership, one for 2 through 19, and then another one for the shock and awe for 20 plus.
It has crossed my mind as well, though. Where is that footage being taken from? Where is it that's getting lit up? Like,
so I made that out of if I recall, 3 different YouTube videos that I downloaded and sort of spliced them into one thing. On the shock and awe, there's I think 5 different ones, but it's some of it is animation.
Yeah, buildings don't explode like that. That's not how buildings explode.
Around here, they explode like that.
Yeah, but here on this channel, they do. Yeah. Okay, so probably no one's ready for this conversation. That more to Ariel's point.
Divorced.
What's that?
I said your mom and I are getting divorced.
That's so sad. I'm sorry you guys aren't getting along. I mean, she was really happy with you, but for a long time there. But I think overall, the book of Ezekiel on the whole is talking about those who are turning away. and describing the satanic as something that those people who turn away are worshiping, like in that singular verse is what's going on. And Ariel spoke of, the people of Ham or Hamites, that they are they are those who are turning toward the darkness.
Wait,
that
when
kind
did
of
I
an
say that?
idea is. I could have sworn the word Ham was in there.
No, I never said that.
The word Ham wasn't in. Oh, well, my mistake. I heard something that wasn't. That happens. You said Egyptians.
Yeah. Well, and no, so it's not talking about Egyptians. It's actually talking about Israelites. Nowhere does
Right.
it actually criticize the Egyptians for worshiping their gods. It's criticizing the Israelites for worshiping, them.
Yes.
And it actually doesn't say that they're like turning away from God. It's saying that they're turning to these others. Again, not implying that they're abandoning their own traditions.
Just that they're accepting others maybe alongside of.
I got a
I see
question
your
for
point.
Flo when we get a break. Just let me know when I can get an edge in. I'm finding this very edifying, by the way. You guys are.
It looks like that was your edge.
Yeah, I'm an edge lord. Flo, a genuine question, and doesn't require an answer now. Matter of fact, you can just ignore it and pontificate on it, and maybe we can talk about it. What would it take for you to go from being agnostic to being a believer? What would have to happen? What metric or what sign, what miracle, what wonder, what
I mean, the
experience?
question is rooted in the assumption that I'm resisting something, like I'm resisting momentum. And what I'm saying is
I used to be agnostic too, though, Flo. So you're talking to someone.
Sure.
So I'm just curious for you, what would it have to be?
To become Christian, I don't have any idea. I'm not actually resisting it so much as I'm going with the flow, and the flow is not pointing there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, who knows? There's probably any number of different things or combination of things that could do it. However, at this point, it would be swimming upstream for me to try to embrace that.
It's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that exact thing. My wife criticized me almost my entire life. Why do you always fight against everything? Why are you going against the current? Why don't you just go with the flow? Why don't you just go with the flow? Flow, that's interesting. Flow state. And I said, well, and I kept explaining it to her, and she finally understood what I meant by it. I said, well, what I want is across the river and upstream. So if I just go with the flow, I'm going to go washed out in the ocean with everyone else. That's not what I'm looking for.
You can't fight the flow, though.
Oh, yeah, you can. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
you
can
fight
it.
It's like a riptide. You can go with it, and you can angle yourself in such a way where you end up on the other bank, and then you start walking up. But if I
use
just
the metaphor of surfing, I don't try to control the waves of life, right? The metaphor. Gotcha. I'm not trying to control where the water goes. I'm just trying to see it and then
wave, baby.
Ride the
wave.
Yeah. Navigating it.
Right.
Using its energy to propel you. I hear what you're saying.
And there are moments when you can, when you go with the flow, like
and there are times when you can, if anybody here has surfed, if you're trying to catch a wave, then you really paddle into it, right? You can exert a lot of energy and try to move yourself stronger, sometimes more than others, but
well, if I could, if you ever find yourself drowning, just give your life over to the Christ and be saved, brother.
Well, I appreciate the thought. I don't know that that's where I'd go.
Have you ever cried out?
Cried out? No. Have I done the whole? What was it? If you're real, then make my carpet wet. Wasn't that something from the Bible?
Oh, careful of that, brother. Don't. What did it say? Well, do not test God.
I'm not really worried about testing it because I'm convinced that it's a fabrication of people's imagination. Not that God can't be real, but that Christianity is not. Get out of here, dog.
Well, I truly do believe that if you found yourself drowning,
I didn't know you.
Dog backwards is God. He just gave you a sign. He crapped on your floor.
That you would seek that.
I don't have
really
a dog. We're dog sitting 2 dogs.
Generally specific.
I don't see you drowning.
I did kind of like I didn't test. It wasn't a test, because I already kind of had faith that God was there, or the creator, whatever was there. But I did throw the gauntlet down and said, yeah, if you don't do something, see you later, I'm checking out. And within 5 minutes, a Jehovah's Witness knocked on my door.
Well, that was the devil. So
And
Luke
no,
4:12.
no, hang on.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I didn't see that straight away as God sent a Jehovah's Witness to me because I need to become a Jehovah's Witness because the Jehovah's Witnesses got it right. I never saw it as that right from the start. My immediate response, like literally when I answered the door, and I was like, huh. In my mind, I was going, "Oh right, okay, this is you answered me, man, and I don't think that you want me to be a Jehovah's Witness. So what's this about? Let's see where this goes." And I ended up studying with him for 9 months, but what it did was refocus me.
Sorry, Rich. I thought that there was a break in your speaking. Thank you, Cat's Meow, for the Cash App. Carry on.
He's so rude, Rich. He's so rude. I can't believe he did that.
Rich he was doing that speaking thing where it's like pause for. Is it a pause for effect, or is it a pause with a period?
So, what do you think Jesus meant by Luke 4:12, where he said, Jesus answered and said, "It is said, do not put the Lord your God to the test." And also, didn't the devil tempt him that you could throw yourself off of this high perch and then your angels will come, and before you even dash a toe on the rock, they'll, and he said, "It is written, do not put your
I
Lord
don't
God
know.
to the test."
Are you asking me?
Well, no, I'm talking to Richard when he said that he put the Richard, not demolish, but
so as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't aware of that. God knows I wasn't aware of that because I hadn't read that much scripture. I've been, when I went to prison, I immersed myself in the chapel and Bible studies, and but I mean, to be fair, that was just because it seemed the safest place to be, rather than out in the general population. And also, the chaplain had a guitar, a steel strung guitar that I could sit and play. So, like God helped me when I was in prison. The biblical God helped me when I was in prison. When I got out of prison, I realized how difficult it was to be a Christian, and I realized also that most Christians aren't even Christians. They just, they claim to be, but they're just giving it what they're playing it lip service. So, I was, because of the questions I had, because of what had happened, because somebody had lost their life because of me, because of my actions. Somebody lost their life, so I had serious, like I was deadly serious about my communication with God. And as far as I'm concerned, God knows that.
Well, to your point, God knows your heart, and He always shows grace to the humble, but He'll resist the proud. So in that when you were testing Him, understanding that it wasn't something you're supposed to, I think it's the angry test. It's kind of like what Flo was saying. If you're real, do this now, or God's not a magician. He doesn't just it's, and that's the Pharisees.
That's the desperation, because I really
that's way different.
The end.
I mean, I think that whole thing, don't test God, don't and what's the other thing about the most unforgivable sin is denying Jesus or something that
blasphemy
the Holy Spirit.
Right. So all these things are don't question me, don't question me, don't question me. This is a gaslight tactic used by abusive institutions.
Yes, no. One thing I would just like to underline: you can be forgiven for blaspheming against the Father, against the Son, but not against the Holy Spirit. What's up with that?
I have to look into it.
But I'm curious how you said yes and no to my claim.
So this is actually interesting. That's a good question for me. So from my understanding, and this is just, again, going back to my understanding, so the Father and the Son are two actual like literal beings from my
Exactly.
perspective, whereas the spirit for me, and I know GS and I don't agree on this one, so it's not an actual being. It doesn't have like a conscious like awareness, you know what I'm saying? So that blaspheming, it just can't happen. You can't actually cuss against something that doesn't have a conscious awareness.
Well,
Can,
How
the
can
Holy
it be
Spirit,
unforgiven then?
it's not just that. The Holy Spirit, it gave the knowledge of all languages to the 12 apostles, right? And it appears as a dove. The Holy Spirit is the language of birds. It's basically our mode of thinking. You can't even conceive of speaking ill of it, because any ill you speak is spoken in language, in language. You're not able to actually turn it against it. So
So,
we're not.
so yeah, interestingly enough, toward DO7, so I have a very similar experience. I actually did study with the brothers and sisters. I have come to the conclusion that organized religion is definitely not beneficial in many aspects. So I'm a family guy, right? I really truly believe that family is the most important thing on the earth. There's a hierarchy, right? And then outside of that is like the congregation in an imperfect state, in an imperfect world, and that sort of thing. And for the fall of mankind, right? That imperfect state, we're going to witness individuals who do bad things. Whereas, there's also this type of organization and governmental power structure that exists, that when men come together in this power structure, that amount of power structure, it's just going to breed a disgusting thing. And that's, of course, that's what we're viewing, in my opinion, on the earth, these disgusting power structures.
They are the living dead. They are the dead entities that have all the rights of living people and destroy the lives of living people. Yet they don't. No single person is held accountable. It's like corporations are demons, in a sense.
Egregores.
In a sense.
Mm.
Like
They're
a
just
Leviathan.
tools that allow people to cooperate and pool resources.
Yeah, bad people doing bad things.
It's interesting, though, that you brought up Leviathan. I mean, I'm guessing you were probably referencing Hobbes, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because, I mean, like, I wonder, why do you think it was that of all the things he could have chosen, he chose the motif of the Leviathan rather than something like the Tower of Babel or like any number of things he could have done, but he chose that motif?
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. So he would have had to have studied the scriptures to really understand what these creatures that are referenced to as fallen, right? Those fallen ones, right? So it's interesting that he did reference that. I don't know if it's like specifically accurate to something that is real, but ultimately there was the original liar, right? The one who lied from the beginning. In my view, again, going back to my view, that liar, obviously he has his followers, and some of those followers aren't necessarily the fallen ones, but also you've got men who lie. And so they, of course, too, in my view, would be liars and followers of the liar.
One of the things I've found really interesting, so, the term most people know, Nephilim. So in Hebrew, that gets understood as, I think, it's like fallen ones. But in I think Aramaic and like if you go to more northern Semitic languages, Naphilu actually means giants. And then the term Anak in Hebrew means giant. But the interesting thing is that like people end up connecting like Anak with Anunnaki, and there's no reason to think that, because I think the Naki part comes from the key part comes from the earth, but it's basically like referring to kind of the offspring of heaven and earth. But in this context, the idea of basically they're flipped, that Nephilu or Nephilim, like giant or fallen one, the meanings switch depending on the language that you're in.
Yeah, I agree. So basically it's borrowed, at that point.
Yeah, the question is who borrowed it from who. I mean, like obviously
Right.
you go far
From
back.
whom you're not a grammar nerd after all. Who borrowed it from whom? Ariel, I'm smarter.
W to GS.
The more I listen to you, Ariel, the smarter I get. I'm enjoying this, man. I can't wait to break bread with you more.
You can only become more informed. You cannot become smarter.
I'm more gooder. I got a good brain. Oh man, I got freaking brain freeze in my chesticles. How is that possible? How do you get brain freeze down in your sternum? What the heck?
Oh, I've had that.
Popsicle too long. Oh, now it's up here in my temple.
Doom and doomer.
Oh, doom and doomer.
Yeah, I get brain freezes real bad.
I've never had one down in my chest like that. That's crazy.
That's.
I was trying to eat the popsicle in a way like all covert because I know like some people that don't really like me would definitely try to create some kind of meme on the internet with that. So I was trying to do it all low key.
Yeah, no, you don't. You got to like use your knife and just like. There you go.
That's the manly way. I was biting it though because no one likes a lot of teeth in that area.
So all views aside, just this is a perception of mine. There is definitely an objective good, if you will, or decency that can be gained and also expressed with a certain type of decorum. And there's definitely agents of chaos, and certainly we've definitely, in my opinion, received on this panel and the gentleman we were on before, or you guys were on, and I kind of snuck in at the last moment over here to float. That decorum. Yeah, it's a decorum that doesn't exist everywhere. I wish more panels had that decorum, and there are certain agents of chaos that come in, and that's what I actually rewinded and I saw. And yeah.
Dude, I literally sent a message saying exactly that so and so is 100% an agent of chaos.
Right. Some people just can't.
I'm not saying, dude. That's
you need
to
just rewind it.
I've got a lot of them.
No,
yeah, if you rewind it, you'll see
who
it.
we're talking about. It's the one individual who's like I had to leave the panel because I just couldn't deal with his fucking voice anymore.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'll mute my mic. I'm sorry.
No, what's up? No, you guys just can't leave me hanging out here. My curiosity.
His initials of his channel are PU.
Huh?
Oh, okay. Right.
Well,
yeah.
it's actually NPU, by the way. But yes, PU. Mr. PU.
Is it kind unveiled?
Some frat boy douche with an earring who wants all the time, energy, attention, and resources. He's the hit. He's got an earring, and he's got that frat boy douchey college vibe that you all love so much at the sports bars. And he wears his hat backwards and makes little quips, so he's cool to hang out with.
I just realized I got to put in my earrings, so you guys might not know that's me.
Go.
We're
doing the new thing now. So
anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna head out.
You're gonna make like a baby.
Joining,
and head out.
Yeah.
Did you? If anybody's new here for the first time, if you've got a link that you want me to put I try to put all the guest description links in the description box after the show. So if it's your first time here, let me get your link backstage, and I will include that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I got a channel. I only got one video. I did a presentation on Exertus's channel like a few weeks ago, so that might be interesting. But yeah, it's about Greek history, but not really. Yeah,
I like Andreas.
Yeah, me too. And
he's still a bit questionable to me because of his connections to to the fucking media system. Right? He's worked.
Yeah.
Didn't he work at Disney or something? Or he's done.
I'm not sure exactly how that all works, but
he's got some.
All I can see is that he doesn't have a lot of viewers on his channel, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how he plays that game, but he gave he basically gave a free episode to a complete stranger to hold a complete presentation, 3 hour long. So it's on my channel. It's on Exertus' channel and on Raphael's channel as well, if you prefer. So you can take your pick. But I'm
It's
pretty
up
proud
to you.
of
If
it.
you want a channel link, if you want a channel link, leave the link. If not, then
yeah. I'll leave the link in the chat. Give me 1 second.
Daisy says the only way flow state is ever going to come to the Lord is for him to have a profound, undeniable experience with God.
Amen.
What I would say to that is,
I don't know if you ever answered my question, but thank you,
Did
Miss
I?
Daisy. Yeah, I don't think you. I don't. Maybe I
what
wasn't
was,
paying
oh,
attention.
hold on to the question. Let me answer this first. Ye of little faith, Daisy. I have faith that what I know and what I believe is exactly what God wants me to know and believe at this point. If he wants that to change, he has the power to change it. I do not believe that God would want me to lie to the world and claim to know something that I don't know. So,
when's the last time you opened the Bible and spoke to God by
like
reading
literally
His word?
I literally just did it earlier this stream.
What was the passage? I'm curious if you
It
don't
was
mind sharing.
Genesis. It was Genesis 1 and 2.
Were you looking it up to try to disprove a Christian was saying, or were you
No, I
looking
was
it
trying
up
to
to
get
show
clarity.
yourself?
We were trying to clarify the creation story. It was clarity, not disprove. I had no point in it.
Yeah, and it was actually from my viewpoint too, so
Right.
it's like not disingenuous in my opinion.
Just asking. I'm just curious
sir.
because I mean, like the Joshua Jones guy.
Mm-hmm.
That guy was he just wanted to argue. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I need a
I'm
future
surprised
ex-girlfriend
you-
like a hole in the head.
I'm surprised they didn't tell you were making it all up.
Well, he kind of did actually in the back chat. He said, "I got to get out of here. There's some other gossip drama going on somewhere else." So, and this is boring talking about fantasy.
Yeah, I think that Josh, yeah, he could come across a little better. I don't think that he was insincere or whatever. He's a better guy than he came off, but he is a douche.
How old is he though? Because that's like
he's older than me.
Is he?
I believe so.
It's just it sounds like he's wearing a retainer. I'm sorry, he does.
Anyway, guys, I posted the links in the chat here.
Right on.
So it's been fun. It's been a real pleasure. I'm subscribed now. I like the videos, so I'm. I'll keep
thank
an
you
eye
for
out.
joining.
Take care. Nice meeting you.
Good to see you, man.
Peace out, Monostopheles.
Bye bye.
Love the name as well, man. Monostopheles.
I love all your names, by the way. Brick Petitions, 007, Ariel R.
They just call me asshole.
I'm also known as Richie.
I mean, they're all top notch, guys. Good job. See you
Take
around.
care.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Say my name. Say my name.
Something that is kind of interesting. It did connect to things that we were talking about before. The idea of waves or not trying to fight the waves, but then also the idea of reincarnation. I don't know how it connected in my mind, but so the word in Hebrew for wave is gal, gimel lamed. You could transliterate it gal, and then and it shares I don't know how similar the root is. I'd actually have to look it up, but offhand, it has the same letters as the word for reincarnation, which is Gilgul, which is basically Galgal. It's the word repeating twice over. It's just different pronunciation, and on one hand, it's kind of as this idea of a wave rolling over and over and over, and the idea of reincarnate. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, especially with how different Christian and Jewish communities had different takes on reincarnation at different points in time. But
and that actually goes in Ariel. No, keep your mic unmuted. That actually goes into deja vu. Nothing new under the sun. It just keeps rolling over and rolling over. Keep in that thought, man. I like that.
Oh, I mean that was basically it. I was just connecting.
No, make some stuff up and entertain us, monkey. Come on.
Patterns.
Yeah, no, it's really patterns. A wave.
Well,
A
it is
radio wave, a
interesting. So
frequency. Oh,
a
wow.
lot of people will tell you that, oh, you're just looking at patterns. You're one of them people who look at patterns. Well, the universe is basically patterns. I mean, that's what we see. The 2 + 2 = 4. The 4 + 4 = 8. That's mathematics. There's all sorts of types of patterns, but you know, even language, right, follows a certain type of pattern, phonetics, right? And well, since the Phoenician alphabet, but you know, even before that, there was, you know, alphabets that they just follow certain types of patterns.
Well, you're missing the original pattern, Brick.
Am I? What is it?
God said, "Let there be." Said, spoke the word,
light,
vibration. Yep. He created the first wave. The first pattern is
that
that
light
sound
pattern.
wave.
Right now we're on some hippie stuff.
No.
Right?
He spoke it before it created. That wave pattern.
Oh, that one. Yes, the sound. Yes, you're absolutely right. The word. Right.
The word. The beginning was the word.
Bro.
The word was with God, and the word
We're
was
really
God.
on some hippie stuff, right? So this is interesting, right? So the sound, right? The sounds that we say, right, or we consider them words. They're just sounds, right? They're just like, so it's language, linguistics, and that sort of thing, right? And the patterns that we recognize,
sound waves.
Mm-hmm.
Ride the wave, baby.
It's frequencies. I mean, it's the same, the different megahertz.
Well, Tesla said, didn't he, that the universe is frequency and vibration, energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah. So I mean, that's very interesting that Ariel kind of pulled that all out, and it all kind of put a nice bow on it. Let's talk about degenerate stuff now, so Flo can feel a little more comfortable.
That.
Love the laugh too.
It felt better. All right, but you said there was a question of yours that I didn't answer. What was that?
It was kind of like, what would it take? You sort of answered it, but you kind of milly-mouthed it a little bit. What would it take for you to like commit to?
Oh yeah, because that no, I don't even like the framing of the question.
Hey, how come he goes all the way up on the top right off the get? That ain't right.
Because my penis is larger than yours.
No,
he has the keys.
You know, I'm honestly surprised that Caucasian Sasquatch isn't spelled a separate way. I mean, like especially because the first word's broken up into 2 words. Missed opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You think it's a missed opportunity, but I think it was a taken opportunity to not be called white and deranked by the freaking algorithm. So I went with Caucasian.
No. The joke was that you could have had the first part be COCK.
Yeah, though that's everyone else's joke. That's me providing humor for others to experience. You remember I told you that people like funny jokes, but not clever jokes. Clever jokes make people angry.
Yeah, they want to punch you in your fancy Harvard mouth.
Stupid, especially if they don't get it.
I'm getting too much money.
Thank you, old Joe, for the $7 Canadian. He says the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, and ignorance may desire it, but in the end, there it is. Winston Churchill. I agree, which would be also that runs nicely into my response, which is you're asking the wrong question because your question supposes that why aren't you asking about the truth, right? You're the priority in the question is the religion. It's not in the truth. The truth should align with the religion if the religion is true.
No, see, I disagree because my premise is that religion is where faith goes to die. I'm talking about your relationship with Jesus Christ, not any number of little g, big G gods that could be out there that you could imagine up or you're not sure of yet.
You can't really separate Jesus. You can try. People can separate God. I think the creator or whatever intelligence is beyond the universe that can be separated from religion, but Jesus cannot be separated from religion.
I tend to agree. Even though it says the way and the life, it does say the way.
I disagree. He is the definitive article. He is the way, the life, and
in your
The truth.
religion.
And
But that's coming from a
no, it's I don't have a religion. That's what I keep trying to tell you. You keep
Are
trying
you
to define
Christian?
it as a religion. No, I'm a guy who reads the Bible, who fears God and loves Jesus with all my heart.
But are you a follower of Christ?
Yes, I follow Christ.
So
that
I mean,
sounds awfully Christian type.
Yes, but I'm not. I have a relationship. I don't have a religion. I don't.
Did y'all
I
do
don't bow
friendship
my
rings?
heads this many times. I don't count this many beads. I don't cross this and do that. I don't have this ritualistic aspect
But
of.
you do
what
still
goes-
adhere to the dogma of the tenets of the religion.
Well, it depends on what you define dogma as.
Thou
Believing
shalt
the word.
Depends on what the word is.
Is that thou shalt not? Is that dogma or is that principles?
Either way,
If it's quoted, you can have principles that align with dogma, but if your principles are based out of dogma, if your response to questions is to quote Bible verses, which is a dogma book.
Oh, well, that's your definition of it.
Well, so that's the A to B equals C, that type of
If
thing.
it's not dogma, it's doctrine.
Doctrine, that's better. That's better.
Yeah, I don't mind the doctrine aspect.
I actually don't agree with that because doctrine is itself an interpretation of text. So like I don't think that there is like one. That's why you have so many different varieties of Christianity. But if you sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So it's
talking about doctrine.
That song that you just ripped earlier, man.
Formulative doctrine, right?
Dogma.
Dogma. Something held as an established opinion, especially a definite authoritative tenet.
Well, see, an opinion and a belief, are those different?
Barely.
But are they different?
They're hugely different.
How?
Well, because a belief is something that you hold to be true, whereas an opinion, well,
faith,
or like opinion is something that you like.
That you express.
That you hold about other things, but I think a belief is something that you believe is intrinsically true, separate from you, existing. So
separate evidence.
A belief, it's just believing something's true without evidence, without proof. Like it, you can't, you don't know, but you believe it.
Right. So the question would be: Is evidence is absence of evidence evidence of absence? That's the paradox, right?
Not really.
wait a second.
For me, it's like.
Are we trying to justify invading Iraq again?
So yeah, exactly right. So for me, it's just kind of a question of like the scriptures are just absolutely written on your heart. I find it to be undeniable. I can't explain why I've been spared from all the knuckleheaded things I've done in my life. Probably should have been dead 3 or 4 times over,
White
at least
privilege.
in prison. Yeah, it's that card that never shows up in the mail.
I wouldn't say it's the scriptures that are written on your heart. I'd just say it's this is something that me and Nia talked about. The word of God is not written down. It's not been put, pen to ink, written down in word form. It's something that's written on your heart. You shouldn't hurt people. You shouldn't, the things that you should and shouldn't do. It's written on your bloody heart. Your conscience tells you.
Well, but
I got a good judgment on that. I got a good way to judge that. If someone shows up and starts filming you doing something and you feel embarrassed because you're doing it and have been caught, then that is a bad thing. But if you are proud and want to show people what you're doing, that is probably a good thing. And you don't really
not necessarily.
Not if you're a creepy old dude swinging your meat and doing a helicopter in front of kids on a pride.
You might be proud of that. And it might be.
Yeah, that's not a good thing, dude. I don't want that around my kid.
Not in your kids. No, your kids are creepy and strange. I don't know, dude. I just following the joke.
What I'm saying is like on Pride. Yeah, I understand it's a joke, but somebody out there is going to take it serious. But
that went too far.
We got old dudes that are actually straight wearing rainbow things just so they can walk around the streets of San Francisco naked and show.
Are you calling out a very specific thing about a very general statement?
Am I doing what? No, I've seen. There's a
You
video
seem
of
to
it.
be very
if you want to
specific
see
on
it.
your point using a general statement from the beginning, you know. Like I made a general statement that typically if you're proud of what you're doing, you're willing to let people watch you do it. Typically, as usual, you know, business as usual type things. Like cops don't like to be filmed. Why? Because they're nefarious bastards. That's why.
Yeah, do you think the people in Sodom and Gomorrah were pretty proud of what they were doing?
They didn't have cameras.
It's not my question. Yeah, they did. It's called God who sees everything.
But I can't watch God.
But I'll tell you what, if camera technology had have existed, then if we're to go by what we've read, then yeah, they would have been proud.
Hollywood.
They wouldn't have cared.
They would have televised it.
Yeah, they wouldn't have cared
to
about
reprobate minds.
Hollywood is proud of what they're doing. Look at what they're doing, and Hollywood
Pride is a sin. That's a bad sequitur.
Well, it's the funny thing about orgies, right? So orgies happen because they're not worried about who's watching them.
They want to be watched.
Something
That's
that's
a
really
cuckold.
guys, but something that's really not addressed enough, but the sin of Sodom, like if you look in the actual like in the text rather than the dogma that people associate it with, the sin of Sodom was actually sexual assault. It was the fact that they that anyone who entered the town that got raped. Because if you think about it, like they were angels, they weren't necessarily men. You could say, oh, but they appeared as men. But the thing is, they didn't discriminate. Anyone who entered the town, they assaulted. So it has nothing to do with the fact that they appeared as men.
But it wasn't about the sex. It was about respecting your guest, and the fact that your guest is you are responsible for your guest.
Mud Crab has
when
donated
they're under your
$5.
roof. You know, it's the disrespect of the guest, basically, of the unknown, of the stranger, because hospitality was such a big thing.
More important than being a parent, which is absurd to me. That's a great example of something where the Bible teaches you bad morals.
So that is an interesting point.
Rude Mud Crab, I appreciate the super chat. He says, is a lack of evidence of absence evidence of existence?
I think he was trying to say, is a lack of evidence
clever.
of absence?
Is a lack of evidence of existence evidence of lack of existence? No,
you guys are almost there. It's actually really, really clever.
That's pretty good.
I mean, which is surprising coming from Flo.
It's just that. That's all a lack of evidence is. There is nothing more to apply to a lack of evidence. Stating the lack of evidence thing, it just kind of, I don't know, it's a disingenuous route.
The evidence might be there. The evidence might be there. We're just unable to perceive it, but we may be able to unable to perceive the evidence.
Because you don't have ears to hear or eyes to see.
And it's not evidence.
No, it is evidence. It's you have veils on, or you have earplugs in.
Right.
Or
my
a,
eyes
or
are
a
for
butt
me.
plug in.
Your eyes are for
you have
you.
to taken your heart out
My
of your
ears?
chest and read it directly off of the literature, right? Is that the thing?
No. Your ears are for you. Your eyes are for you, whereas my eyes are for me. Everything that I see that is filled into my head, whether I call it knowledge, wisdom, thought, it doesn't matter. That image, that sound that's burned onto my brain, that's my knowledge, wisdom, thought. And then you have yours. So it's my view.
Right. This is your perception. It's that knowledge that you take in, that data that you take in is being filtered through your perceptive filters, and then it becomes your version of whatever, you know.
It becomes evidentiary.
Right.
Evidentiary. Yes.
That's where I say, like, every one of us, it becomes a subjective experience of reality, because we experience things that other people don't experience, but we experience them, so we know we experienced them. So it was reality. It was just only for us. It was our reality. That's where the relationship with God has to be a personal one, because you can't base it on the experiences of others.
Facts.
Yeah, a man with an argument has nothing on a man with experience. Precisely, and I hope that each person has that experience when they're meant to.
I just think it's interesting that so we sort of came from, I mean, I was never fully agnostic, right? I've been speaking to God since I was like 6 or 7 years old. But I only came into my how I feel now and feeling so sure about it since like 2016, when I had this shadow man experience and I studied with the Jehovah's Witness, and that whole journey from the beginning of 2016 up to the September, when in September I cured my depression of 16 years, all based on what I'd learned up until that point and where my perception was taking me. And what I feel that God was saying to me, the path that God has taken me down is to go past religion, to go past the scripture. Consider it, but it's not the be all and end all. There's more than one answer to this question.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So two things can be true at once. That's kind of the thing. You find out that, well, you
More
know,
than two. More than
yeah,
two.
it becomes
Sure.
even more than two. Yeah, 3, 4, all these things, they're all true at once, right? Yes. You come into a real base of knowledge. That's beauty.
Hey, Flo, you're being harassed by your audience there, so just blink twice if you need like a.
Who's harassing me in my audience? Let me ask
Lauren.
those motherfuckers. Lauren. Oh, Lauren's.
She said,
That's
"Put
right.
it in your
Flo,
put it in
we
your
gotta
mouth,
get you a
Flo."
big
She's
screen.
using
Hold
her
on.
outside voice.
She's
She
getting.
wasn't
giving her what she wants. Shut up. Do it, Flo. Do it. Do it.
What have you?
Put
What
it
have you
into
got?
your-
Oh, mate, it's got chopsticks. What have you got? Is it like a chow mein?
That's an egg roll.
It's a noodle. No, that's a dumpling.
It's cultural appropriation.
Is that a dumpling?
It's sushi.
It's sushi. Sushi or sashimi?
You're welcome, Lauren. You can cash at me later on my channel.
Looks fishy to me.
Can
I like
you go a little?
sushi.
Can you
I'm
put it
not-
in
I'm
just a
not a
little
big fan.
slower for the audience? Just there you go. Swirl it around in
Big
the
me again.
ASMR. We want some ASMR. Bring that microphone closer. Turn it up.
Motherfucker said big me again.
I want to hear some smacking.
There it is.
Oh,
you should have licked
I
it
want to hear
first.
the saliva on your tongue while you're
Put
eating.
a big thing of wasabi on it now, and then put it in there.
Now
Lick-
snort some wasabi.
Lick the chopsticks.
Lauren's gonna have to come up here and ask her myself before I do any more. Weird
Yeah,
food
she said-
stuff at the request of the male panel.
She said, "Open your mouth more." Jeez, she's demanding.
Mhm.
One of those boss babes. She'd hate my channel though. I'm anti-feminism over there.
Someone can clip it all they
we
want.
shall rule. Wait, what?
What's happening?
I was poking around with stuff.
Hmm.
I think I'm gonna go bond with my beloved and enjoy.
She's like, "Fuck no."
Yeah,
Yes,
probably.
watching the
what
live
she-
stream and immediately starts running all the guys out of the room.
Do you guys' wives ever tell you to go hang out online with your friends because you're
talk too much? Yeah.
Get out from under their feet.
Mm-hmm.
My wife bought me a computer, monitors, camera, lights, green screen, equipment, and would give me a ticket wherever the hell I needed to go if I'd just leave her alone for 5
apartment.
minutes. Yeah, car. You're right. That's right.
I thought I was the only one, dude.
No,
I really
my-
did. I was starting
my
to think
wife
I was the
loved
only
me.
guy that had that problem.
She is my absolute bottom bitch, but at the same time, I'm the most annoying person you have ever met.
Yeah, I feel that too. I've been
Well-
accused of that a time or two.
I guess I've never met myself, so.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me. Great conversation. Can't wait to watch the replay and see what I missed. Absolute pleasure. Ariel, good to see you again. Brixie, doing a great job. And we call you Richard, right?
Richie.
Okay, Richie.
Unless
Yeah,
we're mad at him, then we call him a dick.
Thanks for hanging out on my channel earlier. Appreciate that. Sasquatch, you're awesome as usual. And back in a carton of cigarette, Andrew Wilson wannabe in the top right corner there, D-Doc. And then, of course, Flow State, consummate gentleman. Really do enjoy having these conversations with you and look forward to unpacking something new. Oh, by the way, I don't know. I sent you an email. I don't know if that was you or somebody spoofed me or not. But if you want to reach out to me, you may be interested. You may not. But I want to give you the opportunity.
Right. I haven't checked it yet, but I will get back to you.
Okay. All right. But he seems keen. So I'm just letting you know he's a bit of a firecracker. I don't know if he'll be reasonable or not. But he's
Who?
very dreaded brow browser.
Oh, I love the doc.
Yeah, he can go for the throat, but he means well. He's a pretty conservative guy, and he's had dudes pull guns on him, try to
I've
tear
had
a sign
dudes
out of
pull
his hand,
guns
all
on
kinds
me.
of stuff. But
Oh.
he's not a cool little frat boy like you though. So he doesn't wear his hat backwards, but he does have dreads. He literally has dreads.
You're gonna have to suck it now.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Good to
I'm
see
off
you,
like a
GS.
prom dress. And
Later,
take care.
dude.
That costs way more than $2.
Well, he tried.
You can keep dumping $2 up at a time and see when we get to a number that'll make me suck the sushi off this stick. But I can tell you it's not a good investment.
I need that clip. I need that clip right now. You just said that shit out loud. I'm getting it right now.
Suck the sushi off the
stick. Thank you, Lord. And who was it that said that? Hold on. Major face farm? Yes. You just
Everyone
given
objectify
another clip.
Everyone objectify Flo and send him money like a whore. I'm down with it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I'll run the auction.
Well, my trackpad is going wild right now.
I'm liking the headdress there, Ariel.
Thanks.
That's,
It's a sudra.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like I couldn't remember the name of it.
So what's the is there like a cultural reference for that, or
Yeah,
I don't know it.
It's what Jews wore before wearing a kippah or a yarmulke.
Gotcha.
What is that? It looks like a backwards bandana, like Tupac had.
It's basically I've got
okay, yeah, I've seen that
one here. I never wear it like that. I would wrap it around my neck, but
Cool story, bruh. Well, are we over the God stuff?
Sure.
I'm just trying to get a temperature for the room. If you guys want to carry on the God stuff, you're going to have to turn that. I know that Richard could probably talk God stuff until the rapture.
fire up the conversation again.
I actually plan to.
Either way.
Do it.
But if it's up to me to fire up the conversation, I'm probably going to take it in a different direction. But
I really liked your answer, Flow State, to generally specific, that if there is a God, you are exactly where you should be right now.
Right.
I like that answer a lot.
I like that answer. That's
After all, let's consider the opposite. Let's say that God revealed itself to everyone in the same way. Well, first of all, we couldn't have this conversation. And second of all, and more importantly, there'd be no purpose for us being here. If that were the case, we may as well just be in heaven. So why would God, and how does it, for that matter, how does it make sense that Christians will ask God to correct his plan? They'll pray for an intervention, saying there was something wrong with the plan in the first place. That also makes no sense to me.
I agree.
And
I tried getting on here before you started that again. I was going to ask you real quick, Flo, about that's my first taste of Paul today.
Oh,
you know, he lived.
It's my first taste. Actually, on a panel with Paul at the same time. My first taste as well.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
I
it was-
noticed that.
Oh yeah, you tried talking to him, and he wouldn't even listen to you.
But I was too busy talking as usual. You know,
He loves the sound of his own voice too much.
I don't know if it's that or he just doesn't like criticism so much that he just drowns it out by screaming.
No, he went on to he went on to another not Chiquita's panel today and invaded it.
He's tried to completely hijack the conversation, and he succeeded. He succeeded.
For a little while.
Totally succeeded. I left as a result of it. Like,
Actually,
I
I did
asked
too.
Flo in the chat.
I
I go,
was
Flo, is
watching
this the way he is? And Flo goes, yep.
I was watching from the comments and I left because it was stale. It's the same thing he's been doing for 2 years. Well, I don't know.
I think he's hurting for subs or something.
I think he's just hurting. Full stop.
He should buy more like he has before.
I told him to look in the mirror. That's a really bad thing. I shouldn't have told him to do that, man. He needs to feel better, not worse about himself.
That was horrible, Richie. That was horrible.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have told him that.
Mr. Demolished Doctrine. I'm Harmon. I haven't met you before. How you doing?
Peace and respect. How are you, Harmon?
All right. And I know I'm hogging a little bit, but the other day I was listening to Sasquatch, and I hadn't come on for quite a while. My internet's been so bad. Sasquatch, you said you got some metal in you, some operations you've had where you got not real parts in you?
No, not in so much. I've had some facial reconstruction. I've had some work done on my hip that didn't involve pins. And I had apparently when I was young, I broke my neck, and when it healed together, it solidified 2 vertebrae together. And I had to like fill out this questionnaire when I went in to get x-rays and MRIs. They wanted to know who did the work on my neck. And it was a really long conversation trying to explain that it must have been God because no one else has been in there.
Oh, so that means, do you have like a stiff neck? Not sore, but when you turn, you can't turn like all the way to your shoulder with your chin?
Well, I can now, but that's the weird part about it. I spent about 4 years incapable of looking over my left shoulder. And then I got clonked on the head with a beer bottle and couldn't look over either shoulder for a couple of weeks. And eventually it stopped hurting. It just completely quit hurting. I no longer had any problem whatsoever.
That next collision.
You remind me of a CO. He was these inmates jumped him, and he got hurt, and he got his neck hit real hard, and his neck was hit. So whatever it was for golf, he couldn't turn his neck, but it was over one of his shoulders. So it worked out perfect because he could golf because you got to keep your head down. So if it was the other way, he wouldn't be able to do it. So he was still playing golf, and he can't say he ever looked up on his shot. I mean, it was bad.
It was pretty bad for me. I didn't know what was
your
wrong
whole
for
face.
the longest time, bro. Like, it was bad. I had headaches, all kinds of horrible freaking neck problems and stuff. I mean, obviously something was broken, but I didn't know. And every now and then I'd get it to pop, and it'd feel fine for like an hour. And then it got real bad.
And you said your face was messed up too. So did that happen with your nasal? Something in your nasal? Because I always thought you sounded like a little stopped up.
Ooh, shots fired.
No, it's just your
telling you.
Whoa. No, I thought you.
Hold on. I'm trying to.
You sounded a little like your nose had been broke.
I have broken my nose twice.
I thought your nose had been broke.
I have broken my nose twice. Once I deviated the septum.
It sounds like it.
Did it all the way over. That's not what you're hearing. What you're hearing is an infection I had in my upper jaw, and it invaded my sinus cavity and closed off my nose. And so I didn't actually have use of my sinuses until I was like 24, 26, whenever I got my teeth pulled. And then they had emergency surgery to make me a sinus, apparently. If you don't have any.
If I was your parents, I would have tried to return you. With all the shit you had going on.
You ever
had no return on you, huh? Yeah. Hey, are you sure this is our kid?
Babies don't come with a manufacturer's warranty.
They really don't. And this has been questioned many, many times. I tell you, I'm so different from the rest of my family. You go in and sit down at like a family reunion. You might have 25 people sitting in the room and no one is talking. There'll be me and Lanier and one other guy over in the corner. We can't remember his name, but we know he's related. He talks a lot too, but that's it. Everyone else is just sitting there staring at each other, trying not to smile and prove they're more stoic than the rest of the family.
I bet you $100 you're the favorite uncle when the kids were growing up, and I'm sure they're old now, but your nieces and nephews, I bet you $100 because when I used to go to our family reunions, there was Uncle Norman, and all the kids went to Uncle Norman. We didn't even know who the other fucking people were.
Uncle Norman used to have a bit of his beer, man.
Bro, bro, I was way too junked out to be anybody's favorite anything. I just
You weren't no favorite uncle of the family for the kids.
No, I mean I don't guess so.
I'm
Did
crazy.
they ever steal any of your marijuana and you didn't know it? I stole my for my friend. I stole my uncle's.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understood that.
When my Uncle Johnny, was one of a good uncle, and he was a biker and everything, big time, you know. And so about 69, one of my friends wanted some marijuana. I said, well, I know I can get you some marijuana. And so I went to my Uncle Johnny's house and got into his stash and took it. And boy, did he get pissed. He went so.
You said in 69.
Yeah, 69.
My sister decided to smoke weed one time many years ago. She was like 14, 15, but she was friends with a major pot grower's daughter. And so not knowing that she was getting a hold of some of the firest weed in the Southeast, they jimmied his box open and took some of his personal stash. They got a hold of something like, I don't know, Maui Wowie or some real stuff. The very first hit this girl ever took was off of some Show Enough Brain Buster. And she left that girl's house walked home like 2.5 miles, walked home, came in, looked at me and said, how the hell do you do this stuff? And I was like, you know how weird I am, right? She goes, yes. Yeah. I said, well, when I'm high, I really don't care how weird people think I am. I just am me. And she's like, I don't like me, and went to her room, locked her door, and ordered pizza.
Makes sense.
Was the stuff
smoked again ever?
Do you remember we were talking about that stuff? It was something like it was attached to piss or something. It was like the strongest shit you'd ever smoked.
Piss.
What? You remember?
I had some stuff that a neighbor grew in a pig pen, and it tasted like pig crap.
Right. Yeah.
When people would show up wanting some free weed, we'd give them that.
Are you sure there wasn't a little bit? Are you sure there wasn't a little bit of pig shit mixed in with the weed?
I'm positive, bro. I'm absolutely positive. It was an active pig farm. The guy that owned it went to jail. His son planted the weed in the pig poop immediately after they sold off the pigs. And so that first crop came out very, very strong.
Yeah, you said it was really fucking strong shit.
Like, it didn't smell like pig poop. It tasted like pig poop.
Oh,
smelled like
about
pot.
Like 1982, my cousin in East Arizona, up in the mountains, he got caught growing. He had about, I don't know, 80 plants, and they gave him 99 years in Arizona for that. Gave him 99 years. Took him 14 years to get out. You know, for just growing marijuana.
It's fucked up.
That was like in 1982.
When
I was a guard, I hated that.
Wait a second.
Rocky says lots of people reject God's plan. It's a choice. To which I would say, Rocky, when you say God's plan, you're referring to man's religious plan that you read from the book that you were given by the man. I, on the other hand, have stated that I am comfortable where I'm at. I don't try to force anything nor lie to pretend I know things when I don't. If anybody is trusting God's plan, it's me.
And to claim also, he said that the reason the world's fucked up is because people are rejecting his plan, and to claim that claims knowledge of God's plan, but that means you're professing to know and understand what God's plan is. I say that I'm in flow states side with a God. I am exactly where God wanted me to be right now. And everything that is going on in the world is exactly as God planned it to be, because he set it all in motion, not because he's omnipotent. He'd set it all in motion, knowing what the outcome would be. So it's all been by design. It's all part of the design.
Thanks for coming up, Harmon. Sorry that
It's also worth mentioning that the Bible even says nobody can know the mind of God. So if you're claiming that you know why things are this way because God did this and that, how do you know it? So I mean, the Bible has so many internal contradictions that you can't use it to prove one thing when the Bible disproves that in another part.
Also, you might even say that for somebody to claim that their way is God's plan is damn near blasphemous, because you're putting yourself as God.
Check Calcott.
Checkmate,
you see, Chuck,
Rocky.
Chuck is so used to his cat, he didn't realize it was whipping him in the face with his tail just now. He just kept acting like it wasn't even there.
Hey, at least it's not a cat of 9 tails.
That was cool, Chuck. Did you even notice that, Chuck?
You get used to it after a while. You
Huh?
know, it's like being married. I said it's like being married. You get used to it.
That cat slapped you in the face 3 times with its tail, and you acted like it wasn't even there.
It didn't bother me.
You probably don't even know it, do you?
He does it so often.
He doesn't even know
ignore
that cat
it.
did that.
He does what he wants. Cats are independent. They do what they want.
Rocky.
I got a question for some of these Bible people.
Let me just conclude this with Rocky.
Go ahead.
Real
Go
quick.
ahead.
He says, "Y'all think you can understand everything. No, you think you understand everything. It's exactly the opposite." Go ahead.
Is it possible? I've asked this question to a few people and never really got an answer. Is it possible that the Bible was written out of society or civilization's need to try to understand where they came from and to implement a set of rules for everybody to be able to get along with each other?
D-Doc, can you?
Actually, you have a very academic view that's extremely mainstream in your assertion. That is how it's normally looked at by people who don't believe that it's true. Now, were that correct, I would expect that everything in there is able to be written by man. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there's some part of it that cannot have been written by man, then that cannot be the case.
Wait, what?
Let him cook. Let him cook. Go ahead.
Does that make sense so far, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you told me a story where 32 specific points happened, and I brushed it off as coincidence, right? Like let's say, for instance, you knew your cousin was going to do certain things in this certain situation, and everything you said, all 32 points were absolutely right. He actually did that, right? Then I could hardly say something like, "Oh, you're just making that up based on your own brain." But what actually happened there is you properly assessed the situation. You made 32 claims. All 32 of the claims were true, and no one would call that coincidence. You agree?
I agree.
Okay. I have a paper for you to review that makes 32 scientific claims from within the story of David and Goliath that cannot have been known by ancient man.
But could it have been made up by a person with a pen?
No, that's what I'm saying.
It cannot possibly be an imagining of an individual with ink and inkwell and parchment.
I thought I heard the question the first time and started to respond, but I guess you'd think I didn't.
You simply said no, it can't. But I'm saying yes, an individual who is writing a fiction can write a very similar story without having to have witnessed it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Because of the non-existence of the telescope during the writings, whether they came from older religions or not, that are found in the Old Testament, they could not have known certain things. They did not know. We can show they historically did not know these things.
Wouldn't it be a path of less resistance to look at the existing knowledge and go, "Oh, they had a telescope"?
That would work quite well. Actually, if they'd had a telescope, that would work great. Only
But what I'm
problem is,
saying
sorry,
they're conveying information that they couldn't have known because they didn't have a telescope. They obviously have the information. It makes more sense to say they must have had a telescope than it does to say therefore God.
actually, they must have had a telescope. They must have had probes with chemical sensors on them that wouldn't probe the near atmospheres around Jupiter. They must have had.
I mean that now you're now I would start questioning our current science. I don't. Do you think we landed on the moon? I don't think we landed.
Are you trusting NASA?
Hold on. Let's not pile everything together. There are good reasons why they would lie about getting onto the moon. There is not good reasons to lie about the chemistry of moons over Jupiter.
Well, if the heliocentric universe is bull and there's all this bullshit about planets, they're not planets, they're just lights in the sky. They're not millions of miles away. That's Hollywood that's given us that perception of these things. It's NASA.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We can without having to have the whole "what shape is the Earth" debate. We can still say there's a good reason not to trust NASA, and there is a good reason. I can still tell you if NASA is verifying the Bible, both of these are, in my mind, the same sort of thing. They're they're broad scale, occult-ish perspective control methods. It makes perfect sense to me that they would use one to confirm the other.
That's a good argument. However, they don't think they are.
Who doesn't?
Neither does NASA seem to be trying to verify the Bible, nor the Bible seem to be, at least in average Christianity, trying to verify NASA.
I'm confused. Why are people drawing a connection between the two?
I don't know. I don't see a connection.
I think the Bible's trying to verify anything other than the Word of God.
Right. The Bible's making a claim.
It does make claims that, as far as I can tell, cannot have been generated by the minds of men on this earth at the time.
Do you have any examples you can give us?
Sure. Give me a minute. I'll bring up the paper and read you a list.
So there's an
African tribe. I don't want to gish gallop it.
There's an African tribe that has knowledge of the
yes.
and they have knowledge of the Seven Sisters, which is supposedly impossible. How would they have had that knowledge for so long?
There's an African tribe that lists the planets going from the outside in and had all 9 of them.
And I only brought that question up, Richard, was because it was presented to me, and I was a little flabbergasted on how to answer it.
Well, I think it's a good question. That's why I bothered with you.
Hey, Chuck, can you? My internet cut off when I was so mad because you were just asking the question. What was the 32 things or something that
he's getting ready to? He's getting ready to read them off.
Okay, well, what was your question, real quick?
My question was: the question as it was posed to me is it possible that people way back then were trying to figure out where we came from, and they concocted this book in order to explain our existence, and also put in there like the 10 Commandments and stuff, so that we could live in harmony with one another, as opposed to fighting all the time? Was my original is how the question was put to me.
All right.
Of course, if that was the intent of the scriptures, it did a poor job, because people have used the Bible to justify genocide.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Bible itself, if you read it uncritically, does justify genocide. The reality, though, was that genocide never occurred. It was just a way of explaining how, they moved to monotheism without saying that they used to be polytheists.
I agree to that extent. Could I share screen, Flo? If you were there, Flo, would you allow me to share screen? Okay, so this is entirely too small. I'm gonna try to make it bigger, but I don't know how far that'll go.
That's what she said.
If you gotta read them, just read them.
Yeah. There
okay.
you go.
Well, I'm going to do the best I can here to be cooperative with as many people as possible. Okay, so here are the claims, and the first one we can kind of ignore because it's just obvious. Were it proven that stellar bodies do not exist, to Richie's argument. Were it proven that physics does not apply off this planet. Were it proven that the Nevi'im was written after the scientific discoveries were made that are used here to verify the plausibility of this view, to Flow State's point. Also, if any point described within the text within this mindset between 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 23 and 18 verse 5 did not agree with scientific observations. Also, if the series of physical interactions of electrical discharge, impacts, and chemistry resulting in what are sometimes called the signs of the coming of God are not possible within our solar system, then this explanation cannot be correct. To be specific, if planetary alignments do not encourage solar ejecta, which they do, if large solar ejecta impacting this Earth is not broadly thought of as a threat to this Earth and a negative event, i.e. an evil to the people, which it is. If the proper name of the constellation Virgo is not literally the direct translation of the compound word Bethlehem or house of bread, which it is. If the constellation Aries was not counterclockwise of Virgo, if Leo was not counterclockwise of Aries, if Ursa Major was not within the 30 degrees of Leo longitudinally, and also if Virgo was not counterclockwise of Leo. On and on and on. 32 points, 32 claims.
So going back to the point about, just go back up. It's the one about the solar ejections.
Yeah,
So,
what about it?
Again, you're relying on the information given by NASA.
Just tell me the flat Earth explanation of.
All I see is CGI to back up a narrative that they're trying to give. There's no, how can you tell with your own senses that there have been solar ejections?
I'll bring it back up. I just want to see Richie when he's talking.
Okay, so what of my personal experience? A human being is not equipped to physically sense gamma rays, X-rays, etc. that come off the sun. We agree? If such a thing does exist, we can't feel it.
So why have we only been able to measure those things in the last 100 years?
Because we didn't have improvements to our natural senses until science got that far.
I like this comic.
So, what was the point about Bethlehem? Because I think that might be incorrect.
That it's the house of bread. You could say house of meat. That's just as good.
Well, I mean, because the thing is that the word for the direct translation of Virgo would actually be Betula.
What are you directly translating? Are you using the word Virgo or the actual name? Because Virgo is a nickname for the constellation, the version with the sheaves of wheat called the house of bread. So if you directly translate the word Virgo, you're right.
Okay, I see what you mean, but what was the point of that? Like, what? I guess what I'm saying, how does that equate with something that they wouldn't have knowledge of?
Okay, so it's part of the overview of it. I'm going to say something that to most people is not going to make any sense. I apologize for that in advance, but I also want to entertain the exact brain of Ariel here. That it says David starts in Bethlehem. He goes and tends the sheep. Then he goes and smites the lion and the bear, returning to Bethlehem. The house of bread is Virgo. The sheep is Aries. You probably or may not, most people don't care, that Ursa Major, the bear, is in the constellation Leo, the lion. And that's in 4 points, one repeated twice, in a certain given order, which indicates a counterclockwise direction, which is it's setting the stage for how you should look at the rest of the story.
Yeah, but how is that anything that they wouldn't just be able to observe by looking up at the stars and knowing astrology?
Of that particular thing, yeah, fine. But if it were proven that the constellation Virgo's proper name is not House of Bread, but it is. These are the 32 points. I didn't say that man couldn't write. You know what? I think maybe by accident I did say that man couldn't have written any. Perhaps these about the constellations I can't include in that statement, so I should subtract, what is that? 5 of them. So I'm not going to say 32. Instead, I'm going to say 28. How's that?
27.
I'm impressed
27,
with your
but who's counting? It's the Bible.
What's that?
I said it's 27, but who's counting? It's the Bible.
27. Okay.
32 minus 5.
32. Yeah. Okay. 27.
Not
anyway. I'm willing to. I'm willing to concede. I'm horrible at mathematics of all kinds.
27.
Real quick, I was convinced. I was totally convinced. I would have went to my grave swearing it was 28. 32 from 5 is 28.
Depends on how you use your fingers.
1 + 1 is 2, my friend.
Let's concentrate on the part that matters, though. I mean, there's claims within this reading frame, like there's a comet that breaks up into 6 parts. That's pretty darn specific, or that Jupiter becomes or has the ability to become a smaller Sol or a smaller sun. Is part of the claims in that. Now, certainly the people of that time could not have known the chemistry of the planet Jupiter, which many now refer to as, there's an argument over it, but many can refer to it as an unrealized or brown dwarf star. So yes, Jupiter could be lit on fire, not without huge intervention, but it could be.
So where how are they gauging the chemical composition of Jupiter? Because they haven't sent a probe there that's come back.
Yes, we have.
It came back with samples.
No. Because gases act in certain ways under certain light spectrum, as a gas passes in front of a certain light spectrum, is collected on the opposite side of it. There's a gap between the production and the sensor. There's something called Fraunhofer lines. Now, what that means is every specific gas has a natural light blockage in it, and when you spread that out, it appears like almost like what's that on packaging? The little black lines. What do they call that?
It's like a barcode.
It's like a barcode for that gas.
Yeah, hit it. Keep cooking.
We literally have Fraunhofer lines like a barcode for each gas. So we sent a probe in there and it died. It didn't get very far. But it sent back radio information saying, here's your Fraunhofer lines.
No wonder you believe the Bible.
Yeah, well, I should. I believe it's true.
You believe all that stuff.
I used to work with a mass spectrometer, and those things were pretty accurate on figuring out a gas. I know
that's
that.
what they do. That is literally a mass spectrometer's only purpose. If it is
only job,
they're gauged to do that. They are gauged to do that. That's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
But
how you know if it's real or not? Because it's made that it's manufactured to do what they want it to do.
Right.
I tell you what, we can cast aspersions all day. We can cast aspersions all day long on NASA. That's fine. I've found them in 2 lies that I can show are lies. Okay, I mean I can show it conclusively, but that doesn't mean that we can extend that in a composition fallacy and say everything that NASA says is a lie. That's just bad thinking.
Liars. They're pathological liars.
That's fine, Richie. I'm not going to argue it because I'm not trying to have that argument. But what I'm saying is some things would be worth lying about, some would not.
Don't you think the reality of this realm would be a really good thing for them to lie about if they wanted to create a separation between us and God? Don't you think that'd just be the perfect way?
I take your point that according to a lot of Christian reading of the text, there are claims that NASA says the opposite of. Now, I don't adopt that particular reading frame. I don't think that's what it's saying. Not because I prefer science and I have that prejudice. It's just that within the reading frame that I've been shown, those ideas don't actually work from the text.
I dig it.
So for me, they're just not in argument.
If I scan you, Sasquatch, how much you going to be worth?
If you scan me,
yeah, with the barcode.
Dude, you're gonna have to bring some serious change because I'm in debt up to my eyeballs, bro. Like, I got bills on
negative worth.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know why people keep looking for me. It's just the debt.
Yeah, ain't no one looking for you to die, are they? We ain't getting nothing
No,
from him. He's
they're
going to cost us money.
dude. They've been after their money for years.
Make them chase it.
Oh,
that's funny. That is what I do.
But you're strong.
All my relatives have died. They're in debt. Like my mom and dad, I had to pay for. I went more in debt because they didn't have no money to bury themselves.
Been there, done that.
Yep. So my family don't have no money in it anywhere.
That's where you just kind of look around at everybody in the family and you look at your shoes.
If my folks go and they say you got to pay for the burial, I say give me a fucking shovel, I'll bury them myself. I don't have the cash for that. All right, so you better just tell me where I can dig, and I'll dig there.
I want to temporarily speak for at least 3 out of however many brains are here, asking Harmon, because of a claim that you made of a certain cognitive understanding of society and who has what, back in the year you gave was 60 what?
1968.
68. That makes you like 75?
No.
How old are you?
That's why
we wanted to ask.
I did ask it.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, like 69. That makes you that must make you, at least, if you were going and buying weed for someone.
Did I say I bought weed, Sasquatch?
No, you said you stole weed.
Stealing weed from your uncle.
From my uncle. I was 10 years
stole
old.
From a family
You were
member.
10.
So you were 59.
Bad person.
In 69, I was 10 years old.
So
I'm
you're
65.
Flow
I'm 65.
use layout ever in the history of this channel. I've never seen him use this layout. I'm removing it.
Harmon, you sound vital for someone your age. I mean, in comparison to people I've met.
That's because Sasquatch inspires me.
Yeah, I
That must
inspire
be it.
to be young and youthful, like I do all the old ladies.
I'm 63 and a half.
You got facial reconstruction, Sasquatch. You cheated.
You sound 80 there, young man.
Miracle worker. You have no idea what I'm working with beforehand. I am an absolute diva now. Look at this cheddar.
I love it.
Genius. A work of art sits before you now. Right? Oh my God. Okay, Flo. Appreciate it.
You're glowing.
Before I've already done it. It's already gone. I've never used any of those, and now it's laid out where you can see all of them. You don't have to hunt for them. They're all right there. You can just poke it. So you're like, let's say, I don't know what this is, but we're gonna pop that up. You can go bip. You can put everybody around stuff. You can do a 2-man face off. You got your usual spotlight out.
Building your scenes, man. Yeah. I like that about Restream, that you can do that.
Can we do this one with bigger, like make the ones at the bottom a little bit bigger? Is that?
Yes, we can do that. But you need to switch off of this one while I do it, or I'll be physically moving.
You don't have to do it right now. It was just a thought, and I wanted to catch it before I was again.
The only reason it's done that way is because I did it the wrong way the first time, and when it populated all on one side, and it looked freaky as hell. I didn't like it. It looked really weird to me.
So both Harmon and Richard both sounded much younger than they actually clearly
Old Richard.
I'm 56.
56? Yeah, now you can see I look 65 now.
Is that real hair?
I'd say you look 56 and Richard looks 65 in comparison. Just because of the big white beard, that's the only reason, right? Because he's got the Santa Claus.
Look how smooth the skin still is.
There.
Very nice, very nice.
I think it's from where
You
from
made
where
me go.
he's
You
from.
made me go damn comb my hair. I don't usually only comb my hair once a month. Now, saying
So
that, I
Harm,
gotta go comb my
are
hair.
you happy instead of talking about God? Now we're talking about Richard's smooth head skin.
Two things I don't debate is the Bible and flat Earth. I don't debate either one. I think those there's no
By
debate.
even stating that position, I feel like you just issued two challenges simultaneously to any.
I'm ready. Ready to go.
Well,
Yep.
you do debate
I'll
them.
debate them.
You, yes, you.
So can I say something? So it's just an observation that I've seen and being on the panel. I'd like to present an observation that I've actually witnessed here today. I'm going to call it observation toward objective truth of goodness, available for argumentation through contention about the Bible and our Creator.
Are you going to coin that now?
It's a fucking long time.
It might catch on, but it was too long, really.
It was too long.
Wordy.
So is there proof of
tell him it's the Bible
is there
string.
proof? Is there proof? Is there proof?
I like to
basically?
talk about my uncle and his marijuana he'd always have back in the
Well,
60s.
I have eight points. 7 of them we have discussed. Okay, one of them is
what is proof.
So one of the observations is perspective or faith, right? So that view that one might have. We discussed that, and we've kind of discussed whether it's observation towards goodness, the truth, right? And I think we've exercised that many people do actually have that objective truth of goodness in that. And then number 2, I kind of see a discussion of history and creation itself, and if there's an observation of truth towards goodness, I see that as well. 3, linguistic harmony, right? Is there an observation of truth toward goodness? I see that as well. Number 4, is there a observation of truth toward goodness in structure? And that would be like the family arrangement, that hierarchy. I saw that as well. Number 5, is there decorum? I saw that as well, right? Truth of goodness, right? Then number 7, the science, which was just discussed. I'm just kind of pointing these things out. Those 7 were discussed, and they were pointed towards evidence of truth of goodness, right? And that's just an observation. Now, there's only one more that I can really kind of view that might be a point of contention, and that's prophecy. That's the only one that hasn't been discussed, in my view.
Well, if we talk about that, that would be end of all our YouTube channels.
Right, right. And it is one that doesn't get discussed because ultimately...
Where did this list come from?
No, it was just an observation. It was just an
He's been
observation.
sitting there for quiet for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, writing this all down. Now he's ready to.
Well, no, and I'm trying to engage it. He's getting ahead of me, maybe because I don't. You just listed off 8 things. You said there's only one left. So I don't know where the list came from. If you just
observations,
so there could be more than 8.
What I said was towards my view of things that typically come against contention, right? So the only one, that I can come up off the top of my head with that hasn't been discussed towards the truth of goodness, right? That I can see in my mind's eye, right? That point of contention that always comes up, that prophecy thing, right? Is the prophecy true? That's one of those that hasn't been discussed. And I only bring it up because we've discussed all these other ones, right? And I'm sure there's other little points as well, even in betweens and all that have been like pointed at and said, hey, this is it. This is the truth, right? I'm not saying that it definitely 100% is, because obviously I go by faith, right? But I go, of course, by the evidence too.
Well, Brick, wouldn't it then be better to say that is it good if the prophecy is true?
Yes, it would be good.
Okay.
Because it would confirm your desire to have allegiance to a religion over the allegiance. And this is an issue that I'm sort of speaking to you specifically, but I'm also sort of speaking to religious people as a whole. Their devotion is not to truth. It is to the tribe.
Well,
so truth takes the backseat to the tribe affiliation.
So this is where I would say there's actually another thing that there's available, and it's not to the tribe itself. It's actually the hope. So there's a hope, not to the tribe, but to the self. And so it has been.
The admonitions of Paul is what you're saying.
I think that there's a wide spectrum of
You
different.
hope for all things, pray for all things.
Okay, yes, the hope for life, right? Ultimately, the end goal is everlasting life. I mean, it's the immortality that everybody's after, right? Is it true or is it not? And so that's one of those self taught things. I mean, I can't necessarily point to it without going into the scriptures and things like that. Literally has to come from the scripture. Like, you cannot find out where the prophecy is true or not without going to scripture and historical context. Like, that's just not even possible.
If I would say that if the prophecy is open to interpretation, probably not true.
Well, everything would be open to interpretation, but ultimately you have to have that interpretation with a point of. I don't blame you for questioning it. I don't blame you at all. Question everything.
Question.
Hold on to it. Let me. I'm gonna play this for Rocky because he's antagonizing me from the chat. Having a relationship with God and getting to know Him through the things that He reveals to you. I would say, what has He revealed to you? You'll say the Bible. I'll say, no, He hasn't revealed that to you. A man has given that to you. What has He given you? Your brain, your logic, your reason, your experiences, your ability to interact in the world that He created, and then reason for yourself and think through these things. God gave you your eyes and your brain. God didn't give you the book. A man gave you the book and said God gave it to some other man.
But you could argue that the writers did get it from what you're claiming. As in,
yeah,
what
but I don't
was
know why I
revealed
would
to
trust their
them, they
experience
wanted
more
to
than I
share.
trust my experience.
And that's fair.
I think you should add that to the Bible there, Flo.
Well, I would, but
After
they seem to think
Revelation.
it's closed. But one of the mental tricks of thinking you know everything is that you stop learning new things.
True that.
But
Yeah,
isn't that
God
argument just
quit-
evident anyway?
Yeah, God quit
You mean-
speaking back in about year 100 or so.
Isn't that what God would want you, or isn't that what the devil would want you to think if he didn't want you to interact with God?
Now you're
Right,
presupposing
whereas-
that religion's true, and you have a heaven and hell and a devil and all that stuff.
Well,
That's all
that's an
presupposing.
internal critique. It's not necessarily presupposing if he's working within an internal critique of the believer.
You presuppose that the Bible's real. That you presuppose that the Bible was written 2,000 years ago, or back to Moses writing the first 5 books. You presuppose all that because you don't know it. You just have to accept it
Okay,
on your
what were
faith.
you
So why
saying,
do people in the Bible
Richard?
always want to prove something when they're supposed to live by faith? They always want to have validity. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. The shroud of Jesus. Look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. Look at this. It's all in the Bible.
Why is it this the first time tonight you're gish galloping?
Sheesh, that's not gish galloping. That's your BS.
No, you're bringing up like 30 different examples. I got it the first time.
But we did also say
Oh,
earlier
I didn't know. I didn't know how low
that
your comprehension level was, because earlier you said you guys might not get this because our comprehension level isn't quite high enough to understand what you're going to say. So you gave us warning. So I'm just giving you the same warning. My comprehension level is not as high as yours, so I had to get gallop or whatever that fucking word is.
I didn't do what you just said. I just said it was intended for a single person who I knew.
No, you didn't. You said that we won't be able to understand it. Is what you said.
Okay, yes, because it's based on a conversation I've been having with RL for more than a year. Not because
so you
you're
assumed our
stupid.
comprehension level is not as high as
No, that's not what I did. I said this. Look, you can be insulted if you want. You're welcome to, but I wasn't trying to insult you.
I didn't take it as an insult when he said it.
So I believe that the
it
point
wasn't
is
an
being
insult.
missed here. So when I actually was going through those points of contention, right? Those observations, those points of contention. What I was saying is that there are these evidences that in what should be evidence in not just my mind, but others' minds, that it's worth examining those prophecies to see whether they're true or not. Just going by the historical context, comparing them, looking to see if it's possibly accurate, but to just discount it altogether is, in my opinion, not a good faith.
Well, it's difficult.
Right.
That's perfect. That's the way you say it. That's how you say it. That's perfect.
It's
I appreciate
difficult to accurately assess prophecy because one, it's frequently spoken in riddles. Two, I haven't been around for 2,000-3,000 years, and four, it's interpreted in riddles. So it's sort of
Well, what if you take a look at the paper that I did, where if this interpretation of David and Goliath is correct, and that it is describing our inner solar system and acts between the gods, namely the planets, which is why in some religions the planets are gods, and it would result in what is exactly described as quote unquote the announcing miracles. Isn't that some kind of evidence that at least it's plausible in reality?
Yeah,
and I was
so
talking to Flo, and he's not here.
Yeah, I did forget about the miracles. That is actually another point I kind of should have written down. That's a good point because it's not just prophecy, and it is a lot of other things, right? And when you look at these things, you examine them, right? And going by some of the basic morality stuff like decorum and things, right? Is the evidence for a consensus on accuracy towards goodness of truth, right? That's what I'm looking at. Is it accurate, right? And so
what
if
is
it
it?
is,
I don't even understand what the phrase accuracy towards goodness of truth means.
well, if truth is the objective reality, right? So
Okay.
if you're after the truth, right? If you're after finding whether something is accurate or not, right? I would assume that the end goal of that would be goodness.
I mean, but there's a very sure. That's
Like
a subjective.
for actionable action. What's actionable?
Right, of course. Goodness. I mean, accuracy is obviously good for anything existing.
I don't know about that. So I mean,
Give me an example of when accuracy is going to be harmful to an organism.
Well, certainly a poisoned well would definitely not be.
You want to know accuracy of information? You want to know that it's poison, don't you?
Well, so the well being poisoned isn't a good thing.
No, that's not accuracy. That's just a fact. The accuracy of knowledge, but the clarity of information of understanding, that's universally good to have that.
Well, the presupposition,
you're never better off being confused.
Right. So the presupposition for me would be that in order for me to go on living, I would need clean water, right? So for life to exist. And so again, going back to the point of contention, so here's another point, right? If life exists, right? That's almost like, well, where did it come from?
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that. That doesn't mean that we backfill it with Sky Daddy and then call ourselves good for having made up that incredibly creative invention.
And that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I agree with you.
To the guy and the doctrine guy, I was not trying to be rude with you. I apologize if you think I was. I really was not trying to be rude with you.
I didn't think you were. I thought you were going too fast.
Yeah, I did a mission. I went on missions. I did that for 20-some years. So it just flows when I start going. But anyway, so I just looked up your Gish galloping. I like that. But I wasn't trying to throw you off, though. They said it's try to throw it off from a formal debate. Was that kind of what I was doing, throwing you off the track?
I also don't think we're in a formal debate.
Right. So I didn't, but I like that Gish galloping. That's a good word.
Yeah, and it's not always purposeful either.
No, it's fun though. It's a fun word.
When you use the word religious,
sometimes
are you separating that from spiritual?
I am personally.
It depends on the context. What sometimes I am, but not always.
As a sidebar, can I edify Richie just real quick? I want to edify Richie just super quick.
Real quick. I do think that the two are distinct, though, but go ahead.
Gish was a Christian debater who, because time limits during structured debates, would mention so many things you couldn't answer to them, and then bring up what you didn't answer to and say, well, why didn't you answer? Why didn't you answer?
Oh, okay. I can see that. You gave him too many topics on the same thing, but mine were related. I understand Gish was posted like several different ways, you know, so he couldn't answer one without the other. I tried giving in order. I thought that's what I was doing. But anyway, it was wrong. It was.
All right. You guys rub tips?
No, I just want to know I wasn't trying to be rude to him. Yeah,
iron sharpens iron.
10 years military, 21 years prison guard came out, I guess. That's no
No,
excuse.
he was meaning the rubbing of the tips in a sexy time way.
I think he was talking about
I
the
know what he
penis.
was talking about. And even Charles Manson had some good qualities about him.
One of these
Charles
and
Manson,
one of these, and they, you know.
I watched interviews with Charles Manson, and I just
He was a prison guard. He knows all about that.
Yeah, I guarded Charles Manson.
I probably would have been friends with Charles Manson. I probably would have hung out with him and played in this fucking band.
The problem
You
is that
probably
we were
would-
so
would-
young. We were dumb not to know, be able to have. If we had our knowledge we have now, and I could have been talking to him, God, it would have been awesome. But no, here I was, you know.
You
playing
saw
prison guard.
literal
Well, you
hordes
guys-
because that was the depiction that was given him.
Yeah,
You know, the only
he's
person
only
that-
5'2".
The only person that man ever killed was a maybe murder in Austin,
Yes.
Texas. Maybe.
Yep.
We're not even certain that he did. We just know he did own a gun that was the same caliber and did have his car later. Circumstantial, yes, but
What caliber?
maybe. I think it was 41. If I
A
remember.
41. That is a specific caliber.
It was fairly common back in the day. 41s,
was it?
44s. The Magnums are kind of a new
say
thing.
that's an old
357.
caliber.
I just
Right.
want to, real quick, I just want people to take a moment and appreciate and notice the fucking big brain brilliance that Rocky and Dennis Bigfoot are showing down here in the chat. Your mental rigidity is staggering.
I can't see the chat. I got the phone.
I mean, Dennis is using
Rocky
single
is-
word responses, and Rocky is just repeating simple tropes.
Nope.
Jesus is the unique person of the universe. First of all, that's not proper grammar.
Did you get paid yet
Yes.
from that one guy?
No,
Sorry.
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked. Hold on.
Call him
We're
again.
gonna-
Question
Sasquatch,
for
get
you,
him.
Flo.
Sick him.
If I could be
Well,
selfish
on.
for just a second for a little bit of channel business. Thank everyone for coming by the channel. I really appreciate it. The conversation has really flipped off of my topic for my channel, so I'll be shutting this one down. Peace and respect to you all. Have a great day.
All right, bye.
Okay.
Later, Richard.
Later.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm
Okay.
telling them I'm ending that part of this.
Hey,
Okay.
Damn it. You got our hopes up.
I mean,
No.
this could apply to
Sorry.
you